Okay, I think we're live. If somebody, I can't see the chat. If somebody can hear us, let me know. How come I can't see the chat? Oh, okay, there it is. Oh, usually I like to go look on my YouTube channel. Hi, everyone. Is anybody in the chat? Can anybody hear me? I know Lawrence can hear me. Let's just have a conversation, Lawrence. You and I. If nobody can hear us, let's just have a really good conversation together.
Okay, I see it now.
Hey, Rawhide.
Rawhide Media for you.
Can you hear us? Okay, cool. Awesome. So as people are like pulling in and arriving, obviously the title is football and politics. So we're going to talk football, we're going to talk politics and everything in between. And if you have a problem with us talking about either things, if we start talking about something you don't like, you don't have to say anything. You can just listen. But I think it's super important that we have these conversations because I remember growing up, the way that I learned about politics, I never got to hear people I know and love talk about politics. And so it made it seem like such a bad thing because I never received that space. So it's important to me to create a different space and to provide people to like be able to engage with something that they might not normally hear in their normal life. And I like having educational conversations with other smart people. So yeah, so that's why we decided to do this. So I asked Lawrence if he would join me because he's a smart guy and I know that he has opinions and I like people that have opinions and I want to hear his thoughts too. So we're here to do this and we're going to be brave and we're going to step in a space that a lot of people probably won't touch right now, but we're here and we're showing up. I also just wanted to say too that I want to say as an educator, I think it's important for me to talk about uncomfortable things and to lead a charge in uncomfortable spaces. So that is why I'm doing this. If you don't like it, I don't care. I'm here. The end. So Lawrence, who are you voting for and why? No, I'm just kidding. So, I don't know if you want to share any thoughts about how you feel about politics. I also have Michigan questions because Texas plays them week 2. Hook 'em. But I wanted to also just like bring you on because I wanted to have a good conversation about things that we often don't talk about. And here we are. So what do you think? Do you think Texas is going to beat Michigan? Or
Is that the more important topic?
I'm just messing with you. No, but seriously, like, what do you think about having political conversations? How do you like? What does it feel like to you? Like, what kind of spaces are you in where people are having these conversations? How do you consume politics? Things like that. Like, what makes you interested? And if anybody wants to join me in the chat, join us. You can. Like, this is not just about Lawrence and I. We don't know everything. So if somebody has a different opinion, somebody wants to share their thoughts, let's talk about them.
Yeah, we definitely don't know everything. I know I don't. I don't have a PhD.
I mean, I know probably more than you, but I don't know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm PhD in progress. So, yeah. So what sparked my interest in the political landscape? I think it kind of just came with me organically as I just got older. I just got more interested in politics and starting on a local level. Getting involved, researching. Local leaders, House of Representatives, local senators and things of that nature. And it just escalated up to the presidential level. So as far as here in Michigan, my immediate family, friend group, there is a lot of excitement surrounding the presidential race, especially with the news of Joe Biden stepping down at the conclusion of his term and Kamala Harris all but being the candidate that's going to run in his place. Now we kind of, she does tentatively have the delegates, and it doesn't appear that there's going to be a, phantom challenger out there in time enough to, try to dethrone her seat as the Democratic candidate. So we are awaiting who's going to be our vice presidential pick, her running mate. And, they have thrown out some names. and that's been a little bit exciting to dive into that. You really get into the research, the backgrounds of these candidates. You know, you hear the names and you see, you know, they're governors. You have some people that are part of the cabinet right now, names thrown out there. And it really makes you, if you're interested in politics, it makes you go back to the drawing board and research some of these candidates. So I've done that over the past week or so. And I've had I guess I could have my top 5 of who I would like to see.
Who's your top 5?
And it's not even conventional, to be honest, because I started with the dream. My top 2 are like dream candidates. The next 3 are like more realistic, actually, who she probably has vetted information from already. So number 1,
had Whitmore. You had Whitmore on there. Go ahead.
I had Whitmore on there. I had Whitmore as my number 2. So number 1, I felt that with there being a splash already in removing Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee and appointing Kamala Harris, I wanted that splash to continue. So if I could have it my way, I would have had Kamala call up. You already know where this is going. I would have had her call up Michelle Obama and then just say, F it. That's a nuclear bomb right there. They could have dropped and the race would have been over right there. Michelle Obama just say, you know what, Barack, I know we're empty nesters now, but
can you imagine though, like
I'm taking over the country and we're just gonna do it. I think
people would collectively, and I don't usually cuss here, people would collectively lose their shit.
They would have.
Like there would be no like and how do you compete against that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I had that in my mind as a nuclear bomb that they just didn't want to drop again. We didn't need another, you know, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. So they didn't go there. You know, that's wishful thinking, but obviously it's not going to happen. So my second pick would have been Gretchen Whitmer for the similar reasons. If you're going to be as bold to, with 100 and some odd days left into the election, switch candidates, why not continue that bold move and have an all-female ticket, especially in light of Donald Trump having an assassination attempt, which kind of galvanized his base. And even, you know, some people that were on the fence were just like, F it, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because he survived, you know, this assassination attempt. So
he survived the bullet.
Yeah, he survived the bullet. So that would have been my number 2 pick. But Gretchen Whitmer has said numerous times that she isn't leaving Michigan, in her words. So that brings me to the next
Rawhide
3.
wants you.
Rawhide doesn't want me to run.
He wants you to be,
especially after his Michigan question that he posed online yesterday about when is the last time they won a national title. Yes, I did see that, Rawhide. They won a national title in 1997, and yes, it was split with Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken, prior to the national title they just won. Anyway, back to the top 5 candidates. So we have Michelle Obama, we have Gretchen Whitmer. So with that being said, my number 3 running mate, if it was up to me, would probably be Josh Shapiro. And here's why. You know, I look at the reasons why Joe Biden backed out of the race, the age thing. So Josh Shapiro is only 51 years old, well educated, has a law degree from Georgetown, if I'm not mistaken, which is like top 3 law school. He is Jewish, so for the rhetoric that Donald Trump disputed yesterday that, you know, Kamala Harris doesn't like Jewish people, she's married to a Jewish man for number 1, for
Facts
starters.
Facts don't matter.
You know, yeah, they don't when it comes to that guy. But yeah, and then last but not least, the fact that he's in a state that's considered a swing state as of today, Pennsylvania. So he's a governor of Pennsylvania. I think that will, I wouldn't say all but secure that state if he was on a ticket, but it will make it that more much.
I've talked to some people there, and they like him mainly because like they said he does a lot of stuff for like everybody in Pennsylvania. It's not just certain places. And then they also say that like he's an honest politician.
Right.
And so I think sometimes that's helpful. The other thing I think he's my top choice at this point. But the other thing I really like about him is that I feel like it can get the Joe Biden voting block, which is going to be huge because
Will.
she's not going to get that block as heavy. Him bringing that together is super helpful. There's something else I want to say, but I want to finish hearing your final two because
Yeah.
somebody
Especially
mentioned it in my comments.
especially there in
And
Pennsylvania. So, with Kamala Harris being West Coast, she's not going to galvanize a state like Pennsylvania. So you
right.
need that counterbalance with a candidate like Josh Shapiro. So
Yeah.
Going back to the top, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about that. That's why I think he's the most important. You look at their legislator body in Pennsylvania, they have a lot of locally. He's working with a Republican legislator, and he's still getting stuff done for the most part. So you want somebody that can reach across the aisle, and kind of help out in that manner. Then number 4, I have Mark Kelly. So Mark Kelly is the senator, one of the senators in Arizona. I think he's the closest to Kamala Harris as far as like personal relationship. They have the best rapport to date out of all the potential running mates. So that works well in his favor. He's obviously married to Gabby Guilford, who was, as a House of Representatives, I believe she was shot roughly 15 years ago. So, with that being said, they're huge advocates for gun restrictions and gun safety and things of that magnitude that matters in an election. And then obviously with him being in a swing state as well in Arizona, a state that today I don't think Joe Biden will win. Kamala Harris may do better, but it isn't a sure thing.
Ooh, you don't think he would win Arizona as of right now?
If Joe Biden was still on the ticket, I think Arizona would be ruby red. I think he would lose Arizona by a considerable amount if they didn't make the ticket. So
small like interruption. I know that they're masking this with age and they're saying I actually think that's one of the reasons why he dropped out. I think that his polling in states that he should win were not doing well because of his age and because of maybe a couple of other things too. But it's like, I don't think when people think about politics, and the thing I always tell people about politics is it's not just A plus B, and it's not A plus B equals C. And it's like a football team. Everything has to work at all the same times. And if you pull the center, somebody has to, everything has to work together. And I don't think people realize how connected sports is with politics. I'll get off my soapbox. This isn't about me. But that is one of the reasons why I get so fascinated with this stuff, because it's like everything matters, not just one thing. Everything matters.
It does. It does. And those things are important. So, yeah, I mean, you have that going again. I think Mark Kelly has the best relationship with Kamala Harris to date. So it's honestly going to be a toss-up and a matter of, do you value the delegates that you could potentially win in Pennsylvania versus what you would likely win if you were to put Mark Kelly on the ticket.
What did I say that it was? It was an 8-point.
Yeah, I think it was an 8-point swing, 20 to. I know swing. Pennsylvania is 20. I believe Arizona is 12. So, but that's just state to state, because you have to take in consideration the other swing states that are in the area as well. So you may have a better viable chance to get Arizona and Nevada with a Mark Kelly running mate versus if you had a Josh Shapiro, you may have eastern states and some of that Midwestern on the map as well. Even Michigan is a swing state today. It does help that Kamala Harris is on the ticket as opposed to Joe Biden. But again, if Joe Biden was to continue to run and make it through November, I don't think Michigan would go blue.
Especially because the way you guys are already trending.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're trending very young, lots of women. It's just like a different, it's the problem.
The biggest problem here is that and it's the problem in every state for the most part. In the major metropolitan areas, the largest populated areas, we don't turn out. We don't turn out to vote. And Trump's base does in those suburban areas. They turn out like never before to vote for him, and though they wound up carrying these states that you would think would be blue otherwise. But
Yeah.
that was
Why
a
don't
big
you
problem.
think we get out and vote?
The energy just isn't there. At least speaking from here in Michigan, I noticed a big change from not having Obama on a ticket from when Hillary ran against Trump. It was almost like half, damn near half, at least for the city of Detroit, that turned out and voted for Hillary versus the ones that voted for Obama both terms. And that cost her the state and cost her the election ultimately. Because that was a reoccurring trend throughout America. All these big cities across America, she did not galvanize the Democratic base enough to vote for her. Although she won did she win the popular vote that year, but lost the election, lost the electoral vote? Yeah. So yeah, she didn't run it up in the big cities to carry these states, and that was especially so here in the Midwest, because she lost just about all of these Midwestern, what they call the Rust Belt states, because she didn't campaign here hardly at all. So I don't think that Kamala Harris is going to make that same mistake. She's going to campaign. Whoever's going to be her running mate is going to campaign in these Midwestern, regions as well, and try to capture as many of these states as possible. Michigan is in play. Wisconsin is in play. They're saying now that even Minnesota, which is traditionally like blue as can be, is in play. So you can't forget about these states.
I don't know if I believe that.
Because they're very costly. I think Ohio is red. I don't think it's a chance to get Ohio.
Isn't it wild? So it's always wild to me to think back to when President Obama won, because he carried Ohio.
Yep.
He carried Virginia. And I think it was North Carolina.
Yeah. Yep.
But thinking about that now is wild, because he also didn't stand a chance though in Georgia. Right. So it's a weird dynamic where, and again, this is why this stuff fascinates me, is because there's this weird dynamic of how things shift slowly over time. Yep. And again, I'll keep going back to football because everyone's like, politics isn't like sports. Yes, it is. That's how trends happen in life. It's like, first it's this, and then it transitions. And now somebody has their time, and then their time is up, and then somebody else has their time. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Who's your fifth person?
So the fifth person, actually I need to go back to my notes. I lost my, I put a Joe
I bet
Biden.
I know who it is, but I'm curious.
The fifth person is Roy Cooper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I thought about Andy Bashir, but I'm gonna go with Roy Cooper. And the reason why he's fifth and not above that is the his age.
His age. Yeah.
We talk about he's 67. So you have to consider when we're looking at.
He looks 67.
He does. You have to think like, okay, at some point, if Kamala Harris does win, you would think that the vice president, whoever she chooses, is going to run after she's done, whether that's one term or 2 terms. And if it was 2 terms, hypothetically, that'll put Cooper at 75. So do you want to, and we just had this conversation now, can he be cognitively sharp at 75? Sure. But is it likely? Yeah. I mean, if we look at all of the House of Representatives and senators that are above 80, and they're just not all there, and they're
I wish that we could do a 70. I wish that 70 was the limit.
Somebody needs to come in and invoke an age limit. I mean, for these federal jobs, all federal
somebody has to run on it's like it's a low-hanging fruit that somebody has to come in and make that a thing. Like
retirement age, whatever retirement age should be federal retirement age as well. So
there's no reason you should be 85 walking in to make rules for anybody.
No, not at all.
Like, it's absurd to me. Like,
let alone the entire country. So
I was gonna say there's a lot of things I get fired up about when it comes to politics. One of them is people that don't vote. For some reason, when people tell me they don't vote, it triggers me. So I'll openly admit it triggers me. The second thing that fires me up is when I see old people that can barely walk. How can you, 90 years old, making decisions? like what? Like, I don't understand. And then I watch their things, right, where they are talking to like the social media giants, or they're talking to Uber. They don't even understand the technology. They don't even get it. Their questions are like, so if I download the app, I can just like click a button and get a car. And you're like, what? So the age thing, I get fired up. The third thing is how Black people vote, but I'll let them make it. I won't even go in on that right now. I'm gonna be nice. So, but I think it's interesting that you said the age thing with Roy Cooper. It concerns me. If she doesn't pick Kelly, if she doesn't pick Shapiro, there better be a good reason.
I agree.
Like a reason that like we can't see, or I don't know, or the person that she did pick is better than we thought of. So one of the things I also want to mention is in my comments, somebody said, why is she not focusing on getting a Black man to be VP? And I before I answer that question, I want to give my thoughts. I respect that not everybody is as invested in this as I am. And I respect that some people see things visually, and even though they act like they don't care visually, that they very much care visibly. Here's the issue with if she got a Black man. The voting block that they need to get a diverse slate of voting blocks.
They do.
And you have to think about age, who's going to vote with you because of age, who's going to vote for you because you're a woman, quite frankly, who's not going to vote for you because you're a woman, working class, and people that look like you. If you have people that look like each other for the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is held to a higher standard than any other party, you have to get diverse. The ticket has to be diverse. You can't just have same. We can't win that way.
No.
We have to be
That's
different.
not a winning ticket. No.
That's not a winning ticket. And so it's not about her not wanting to run with a Black man because she's married to a white man. That thing, we have to stop that. We have to stop saying she doesn't want to get a Black man to be her VP because she doesn't like Black men because she's married to a white man. That's nothing to do with anything. So if you're somebody that believes that, I just want to encourage you to stop. That's not how politics works. That is not why she's not getting a Black man. And the final thing I'll say, I'll get off my soapbox, is I think we often talk about things as we can't be one issue voters. Like we can't, like it can't just be, I'm not voting for her because this today in July. So I just want to encourage people. I'm not saying that you need to come to the table and be like, I'm voting for her. What I'm asking for people to say is, I don't know who I'm going to vote for yet, but I'm open-minded to see what's going on, because we don't even know what's going on. So if you already, I know I'm not voting for an idiot. That's what I know. That's my opinion. That doesn't have to be your opinion. But all I'm saying is like, let the whole like, oh, I'm not voting for her because she doesn't like Black people. She doesn't do this. We need representation. And it's like, all of those expectations you have for her, you don't have any of those expectations for the other guy. So your argument to me is invalid. So that's why certain things, it gets me fired up, because I'm like, don't hold one person to a standard that you would never hold somebody that you already know doesn't give a damn about you. So stop. Yeah. Now I'm done. I'll be quiet for at least a couple of minutes.
No, all valid points. I mean, yeah, we can sit here and nitpick Kamala Harris, her record as an AG, her record as a senator, all we want. But I mean, it is what it is. She's the candidate. Would you rather have her versus what we had a couple weeks ago? And then with that being said, you have to run. If you're going to run and enter the race, you have to be in it to win. Yes, Wes Moore is great. He's done a lot of great things for the state of Maryland, and I think he definitely has a bright political future. But now is not the time for him to be on a ticket. If it's going to be a winning ticket. So, yeah, just you do have to keep that in mind, and that's what it's about in the presidential race, comparing and contrasting
the different things.
the different things when you're a president versus a VP. Look at Obama and why he chose Joe Biden. Joe Biden was running for president initially, and he wound up choosing him as his running mate. The same thing happened. Joe Biden did the same thing with Kamala Harris. So it definitely, you definitely have to have that balance on the ticket if you want to win a ticket, and not be whimsical with your selection. Like the other guy did. I honestly think he chose that day of the
JD Vance.
Yeah, he chose that day and just said, you know what, you. And yeah, the early returns of that is not coming back so good so far. Granted, we still have 100 days until the election, but
that was
the early returns on that choice is not.
But the truth is, though, we're being logical. So that's a whole. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. Neymar, what do you think?
What's up? So I was gonna say about, I think you probably have seen my comments and whenever you have posted some YouTube videos on politics. I think for Kamala Harris as vice president, it should be Josh Shapiro or Andy Beshear. Like, those are the two that I've been thinking highly of. Cooper is a little bit too old. Mark Kelly is not too bad in my family. They've been saying that they would like Mark Kelly, but I'm like more on Andy Beshear or Josh Shapiro's area for definite. And I think it would be a decent pick also if we pick either one of those. The point with Andy Beshear is he has a way of going after JD a little bit, but kind of that's what I think on his end. And Josh Shapiro, it's a different way around a little bit.
Who would be your top pick?
Top pick, the first pick would be Josh. First would be Josh.
I feel like collectively, that's what I've seen. That's what I talked to a couple people that live in Pennsylvania. I talked to a couple of my friends who are actually on the other side of the aisle. And I talked to just like different people, and everyone seems to think that too. So I have somebody here that I've never seen before in the chat, just popped up to be on the panel. So.
Oh, hello, Miss Really Flawed. My name is Ralph, and well, some New York Giants fans, they know my name, which is Ralph.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to make sure you're a normal person. And I'll drop the link in the chat again. I'm not here to declare that this is how you should think about politics. Okay. I'm here to stand on this is how I think about politics. And so everyone has a different opinion. That's what makes this great. If I asked you why you think the Dallas Cowboys are going to suck this year, we're all going to have different opinions.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you, no one is going to say something like this to you if you disagree about sports, because it's different. But for some reason, when we talk about politics and when we talk about money, those are the two things where it makes people feel like you're trying to tell them what to do. I'm not here to change your mind. I am here to make you think. That's it. that's my whole point. Is just I'm here to make sure that you think about what you're doing and you have a reason. So I will. That's my disclaimer. Is I'm here as an adult to have an adult conversation with adult people. So that's what I want to do. So if you disagree with me, come and chat with me. If you disagree with any of us, this is an open discussion about politics and football. I'm sure it will turn at some point, but we're here. So let's just have a conversation.
I agree with that. I'm fine with people disagreeing with anybody but I would say, I hate bringing this up, but the attacks that are going on Kamala Harris kind of dishearten me a little bit, but I can understand the disagreements can happen, definitely. But I don't want I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on some news channels, just the attacks going on Kamala Harris. Don't want to see that, but disagreement definitely is fine.
Yeah, I'm all for a good disagreement. Listen, this live is about politics and football. You cannot think for 2 seconds I thought we were going to all agree on the same thing. Hell, I don't even agree with Lawrence's list, but I don't care. Lawrence's list. Well, I actually kind of agree with some of it, but but anyways, what do you have to say? What do you go by, Ralph?
Well, to be honest, right now, for talking about politics, I mean, it's not that I really interested about it, but I just saw like all of this news because I was graduated as a journalist, and I understand about for the importance about for like the politics, the economy, and something about for like the social impact in this country.
Hmm.
Because as a matter of fact, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina since I was like 6 years ago when I was graduated. Because when I was 24, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then the social impact right now for the politic is very different because right now I just have a different opinion about for independent. And what I just saw for like the elections and about for the politics, I mean, there's like a diverse group about for integrity. And I think
Mm.
that no matter if you're white, no matter if you're black, we are united because if we had like an opinion to disagree or agree about for the politics, I mean, there's something to talk about it. And I believe in the power of change. I believe in power of having like a great point, and I believe that I have like a great knowledge with great leadership, mentality, and of course to resolve all these problems because I've been seeing a lot of things going to happen in this war, including for the United States. But I think it's time. I think it's time to reunite it, to unite and solve this issue for once.
If I could ask each of you, and it sounds like I'm leading this panel discussion, and this was not, I'm just here. Like, this isn't so, but because the other thing I think happens is people don't have these conversations.
Yeah.
And so, because people don't have these conversations, when somebody's having this conversation publicly, it makes people feel ways that they're not sure if they should feel. And a lot of times they won't say anything and they'll just listen because they're actually learning about something they would never be able to learn anywhere else because these conversations don't happen. And I think that that's important with real people. It happens on TV, but like, let's be real about that. So my question is, if each of you don't mind answering, when you decide how you're going to vote, how do you do that? How do you make your decision on what you're going to vote for? If you want to answer.
I'll answer. Good question. I think it's mostly like for me, it's just like I look at like what is the best candidate out there? Not best candidate, yeah, the best candidate, and mostly like for me right now it's Kamala. And what is their record? Like for example, I'm agree on minimum wage. I agree in other policies, so that's somehow I think about how to go out and vote. And I also try to. It's not easy for me, but I don't influence people, but I would like tell my friends. I'll explain to them like what my thinking is, and then ask them like what's their thinking behind it because
Mm,
at the end of the day they're Republicans, but I'm like, what's your guys thinking? I want to know why are you trying to go out and vote this way? What's the policies that you guys have? And plus, right, and I didn't tell you this. Plus, I graduated Montclair State University with a political science degree. So,
I love it.
yup.
That's awesome. What about you, Lawrence? Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I look a lot of what Neymar echoed, but I don't really rely on talking to friends and family and stuff like that and getting opinions of others. I kind of just do my own research, and if I like, the candidate running and I'm okay with it versus the other candidate, I look at both candidates
Yeah.
and just choose the best one that I align with. That's how I do it. I really don't too much buy into the opinion of others, especially when it comes to politics, because a lot of people are you will find that people are on different levels as far as their interest and their knowledge, and they'll just lead you astray. They just see a flashy headline and say, "Yeah, I'm not voting for A or B because of A and B," but they haven't really done the research. So I do that myself. Pride myself on doing that myself before I go to the ballot box and vote for whoever the case may be. And that's real important. I really do the extensive research when it comes to local candidates, like local
Mm-hmm.
state representatives, judges, and things of that nature, where you're not going to see a commercial, stating their record. You actually have to do the research and make sure that you vote
Right.
for a judge or a local state house representative, a local senator, a state senator versus a senator that's going to represent the state to the nation. So those are very important to research and see if those values and beliefs align with yours. So that's what I do before I vote.
Do you want to answer that question?
Oh
You
yes,
don't have to. Okay, go ahead.
yes, because if I'm looking for like the right candidate, because let's not talk it about for like the violence, because if I just wanted to choose it about for the best candidate, I just wanted to choose about for like equality, equality for all. Because right now it is much safer, because right now they have two candidates with two different visions. So if I look at like something about for the family values, I have to look at something about for like health, and of course something about for related to like anything for about for equality. So if I can choose like one candidate who defines like who gets like values, family, and of course the leadership, and of course the mentality to grow it up, and of course had to like anything to resolve all of the issues, that it doesn't have like anything could happen. Because if we had to choose one candidate that work us together, so that's could be like a great point.
Hmm. I agree with that. I think it's important too that obviously, as somebody who's like all in, I spent a lot of time focusing on this. I remember when I didn't do that. And one thing that helped me was I had to figure out what I wanted, like as a human, like what is something that I want for myself, and then I had to figure out how does that impact the rest of the people. Because, and I said this in the video I released yesterday, and and my dad called me and he had a lot of thoughts about it, is I think sometimes we focus on only ourselves and only what makes sense for us, but that's actually not what the world is supposed to be about. And just because now there's some things that are non-negotiable. For me, that's women, that's women just having the right to choose what she wants to do with her body. That's a non-negotiable for me. That's because no, like I'm not, but there's other things where I'm like, okay, I might not have a dog in this fight, but let me understand how this is impacting people and then I make a decision. And so if you're listening to this and you're one of those silent listeners, because I have a ton of silent listeners that have told me that they're never going to type in the chat, but they watch me, is go back to like the basic things of what you value and then see how those things impact people around you. Because I think that's the best way to maneuver through figuring out where to start, because it's a lot. It is a lot. And like you said, Lawrence, if you just look at the headlines, you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it's like, but you have to take some time because it's not all that, it's like, go deeper than that. My friends that don't watch sports think that sports is so stupid, and they're tired of seeing stuff come across their screen when so and so wins a game or when a quarterback gets hurt or whatever. They don't want to see that crap. It's overwhelming, they tell me. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. But it is what it is. Go vote. Go vote. But that's just how I feel about it. But the other thing, I saw this comment and I want to bring it up because people say this all the time. It's all a distraction. Both parties want a war with Russia. Why NATO and US have moved 50,000 troops the last week in place. China's just wait. Here's the thing, Mike, and I respect your opinion. The one thing I want to say is we don't want a war with Russia. That the core of the issue is that we're in NATO and we support Ukraine. And because we support Ukraine and Russia is invading Ukraine, because that's our partner, that's our ally, we are defending Ukraine against Russia. Nobody wants a war. That's not what this is. That's not to the core of the problem. And again, I'm dumbing this way down to just like an easier whatever. It's not, and somebody on this panel can disagree with me. It is not that we want a war with Russia. It is that Russia started with Ukraine and we as allies have to defend that because that's how this works. Somebody can disagree with me, but that's not that's not a real thing. That's a talking point.
I agree with you on that point. Like, I don't think we ever wanted a war with Russia at all. I think here we're trying to defend mostly Ukraine. I feel like in anything, we're mostly trying to defend somebody. Like, for example, I hate bringing this point up, but I interned with Gottheimer's office. We don't want a war with like certain areas. Like for example, Israel, we don't want a war with them. We're just trying to bring like peace, and we want a ceasefire mostly, I guess.
Right.
So this is because I interned with Gottheimer's office, so I kind of get these points out from them. But
Yeah.
that's what I think mostly.
Yeah. I know old man just joined, and I know I don't know he's muted. I don't know if he's muted and he knows he's muted. But I think the other thing that's interesting is that people don't realize that the United States of America is the power position. We just are. That's who we are as a country. Does it feel like we're nosy some of the times we need to mind our own business? Yeah. Yeah, it does feel that way. But that's not the power. That's not the position we're in. Like, we have to be who we are. And who we are is going to bat for our allies. Like, that's what happens when you are the power player. Like, that's just the position we have. So I just think we forget that sometimes, in my opinion. But what other have you heard any crazy? What's the most craziest thing you've heard over the past 4 days? Has it been 4 days? What is the craziest thing you've heard? Oh, JB said, "Who is we?" I'm saying the United States of America.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell for one last thing before I drop off, because right now I gotta make some dinner. Right now, I just wanted to talk it about because I love your content, what you're talking about for football, sports, and politics. I mean, that's a great, because I know that I have an independent, and I know that I understand that even though that I was born in another country, I know there are some opinions needs to be listened right now. So I just wanted to take like a great moment to say it of great content, and of course I just wanted to like hanging it out with talking about for great conversations, talking about for like interesting teams that we always love to. So I just wanted to tell you that have a great evening and salute to you. So much love to everybody and much
That's
respect.
so nice of you to say. Well, let me say thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Thank
because
you.
I'm getting about 50-50. 50% of people are giving me shit, and 50% of people are like, yes, please, more. So that's kind of where I'm at. So just so you know, and just so I'm clear, that's exactly where I want to be. I don't want to be 100% of people being like, I love this, woo. No, that's not where I live. I live in a place of let's talk about it. So if 50% of people love it, 50% of people hate it, I am perfect. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, thank you. And of course, I will see you there next time, and salute to y'all.
Perfect.
Have a good one.
Bye. Thanks for joining.
Yep.
Old man, do you want to? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you better now. Maybe it's my ear.
No, I'm speaking low. I mean,
I'm like,
I have my mic set to rawhide level, so I have it very low. So when I scream, it doesn't overpower everybody.
That was a good one.
I was like, is he whispering?
I'm trying to come in soft, so I'm not.
As soon as you said, I could hear you right now. I'll be like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh God. Shout out to Rawhide. Rawhide, don't you avoid coming on this panel.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Even
that
Raw,
was funny.
Even Raw has to admit that. So
yeah, that was good.
Good one, old man.
So what's up? Talk to us.
What's up? How you doing? Yeah, I don't know. I have so many thoughts and critiques, but then I don't want to be judgmental. So it's like, that's why it's hard for me to speak on politics and things like that, because everyone is so touchy, on how they vote or don't vote. But the main reason I'm calling in is just to talk on, when I said I disagree, I'm not disagreeing on who you vote for, but I disagree on your statement of why you think people should or shouldn't vote.
Ooh, okay.
Because
talk to me.
I don't think there's a valid reason. If people want to vote, they should vote. If they want to vote for whatever reason they want to vote for that person, they should vote. I might not agree with it, but they have a right to vote for whoever they want to vote for. for whatever reason. They also have a right to not vote for anyone if they don't want to. I treat not voting as a form of protest. And if enough people protest, then that's going to, in my eyes, will make changes.
So you're saying that, so your argument is really the fact that I said that I think everybody should vote. What you're saying is you think if people choose not to vote, they can make a louder statement by not voting.
Yes.
I mean, I can hear that point. I don't necessarily have to agree with it, but I hear what you're saying. I guess
Go ahead.
So if you don't vote, I guess let me get to the end and then I'll tell you what I'm about to say. The end of this is how long will that take to make a statement? The beginning part of this is, do we know that would even work? And how long are we willing to wait to see if we don't vote? How long are we willing to wait to see if that's the thing?
I don't know. Those are questions we don't know, but you don't know until you try. So the thing is, I voted only once. I registered when I first became eligible. I registered as a Republican for historical reasons, and I only voted once, and that was for Barack Obama. And in my eyes, that was for the wrong reason. I was voting on him for his skin color, which is, I think, horrible. And I regret that. And it's crazy to me because when he won his election, it was a lot of black women just in the streets. And when I walked past them, they were like, we did it. And they didn't even know who I voted for. And they automatically assumed I voted for him. And it's because he's black. And I think that's 100% opposite of what we've always been preaching, what like people like Dr. King always been preaching. You want to be judged for your character. And now Barack Obama has great character, but I'm just saying that's not the reason why people were voting for him.
That's fair.
And I hate the fact that a lot of what it seems to be a lot of women, black women, are only voting for Kamala Harris because of she's I'm a minority and has a darker skin complexion. And I just think that is we should wait to see what she plans to do for the country instead of just saying we're going to vote for her because of something.
Yeah. I agree with that. I do think that there are some black women that will vote for her because she's a black woman. Absolutely. I think that that's normal for people to do that. I think at least that's not why I'm voting for her, but I definitely agree with you that it could persuade some people to vote that way. I think that sometimes, and I'm going to put this question up here because I can answer this question with what I'm about to say. I think that everybody votes for different reasons, though. And I don't feel like we talk about the reasons why people vote the way they vote enough. And I think that's how this conversation gets skewed. And in one of my videos, I said, for me, the choice is, do I want to maintain my rights or do I not want to have those rights? To me, fundamentally, as a woman, I don't want to say it doesn't matter who the Democratic person is, but because I want rights in a lot of ways, it kind of doesn't matter because I would like to know that I can make decisions based on my own body because I've earned that right because I'm a human being. But again, that is one of my reasons that it's hard for me to maneuver away from that because that's just a fact. When I'm told by certain political parties that no, I don't understand why we have all these rights. We don't need you to have contraception. We don't need you to have, and I'm like, so everything that I value as a woman, those things are being stripped away from me. So it makes me want to vote for one side over the other. However, that's me. And I think based with this question is in your opinion, do you think most Americans vote according to policy, skin color, or financial status? I think when you can have an easy distinction on skin color, I think that will skew a lot of people. If you line up Joe Biden and Donald Trump, no one's voting based on skin color because they're the same, right? That's not a thing. But if you make it a thing, now, yes, I think you do get more people that vote based on skin color. But I think Some people vote on policy, and some people vote on financial situations, and some people vote on completely other things. That's what makes this fun, I think, is we all have a different opinion for different reasons. And that's okay. I just think this is why I think it's fun. I know other people don't think this is fun, but for like this conversation I'm having right now, I would have this conversation with my family. I have these conversations with my best friends. I have people that I just became friends with. I have people that I'm having this conversation with that I just talked to in my NFL series literally 2 weeks ago. Like, because I followed back up. Anyway, it doesn't matter why. But people that don't even know me, and now we're having this conversation. I like my brain stimulated in this way. Doesn't mean I agree with everything that they're saying, but it's nice to hear what they're saying. And that's what I want us to do. And that's why I always say, like on my videos, drop it in the comment section below, because even if I don't agree with what people are saying, I want to see what they're saying, because I think that matters. It's real. Somebody wants to know who you're voting for, old man. If you want to say, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah. So as it currently stands now, I won't be voting at all. So like that was some of the stuff I put in my response to another video you did, but they won't allow
the one that got
bots.
deleted?
The bots are in full work. Anything I feel. I never say I feel, but I have to say this in.
So can I just a round of applause to everybody that comes on my panel from Rawhide Show, that comes over here and speaks in solid sentences and starts articulating themselves differently. Like, kudos to all of you that do that, because I appreciate that respect. And thank you. Old man, I know what you're doing, and I need you to know that I appreciate it. So thank you.
Including Rawhide. Including Rawhide himself in that.
Yeah, so I never say I feel, but I feel like the system is at work, because the responses I put to your video, they got blocked for no reason, and there was no cussing or anything. And I even tried to misspell all the keywords like Kamala and Biden and this, and it still wouldn't go through. So I don't know what that's all about, but
interesting. So as of right now, you're saying you're not going to vote.
No, I'm not. I don't have confidence in either candidate. And actually, there's three, right? It's RK. So they don't. I need to hear more from him. But as of right now, yeah, I'm not a voter.
Okay, cool. JB, what are your thoughts?
I'm not going to. I'm not about to say like my stance on exactly how I feel about voting or not voting, but I did want to ask you a question, really, Claude, because I've never asked a woman this, and so I like a woman's opinion.
Okay.
Well, no, it's not anything crazy. I just want your opinion. Like I have my own beliefs about it, but so for you, the women's rights of like Roe v. Wade, I'm assuming that's what you're referring to for the most part. Is that correct?
Well, that's one of the things, but yeah. Because go ahead. I'll.
Yeah, because I'd like for you to expand on that, and also with the Roe v. Wade thing, how it's going to the states from a woman's point of view. Like as clear as you can explain it, I like your opinion on why you don't want it to go to the states versus it being a federal law. So
a couple of things are at play here. I think that women's rights aren't just about abortion. Yes or no? It's also about going to the doctor and what the doctor is able to be covered by insurance. So without getting too graphic, women are supposed to go to the doctors at least once a year. And it's just this regular doctor's appointment. You're just supposed to go, you get checked up, you get things, right? Once a year. Right now, they're trying to change that to make it to where something has to be wrong for you to go. So you can't just do like I just want to make sure I'm good kind of thing. The second thing is used to, when a woman could go to a doctor every year, you would get the same type of checkup. So it would be a thorough, like, check your boobs, check your vagina, check your body, right? Make sure everything was functioning. They've since made it to where if you get certain things done to you that is outside of every year. Now it's every 3 years, I think insurance would cover. So let's just say I go to the doctor on Monday, right? And then let's say next month something might happen to me. Basically, what they want to do is take away the insurance ability to cover the extra things that might come my way because it's not within my yearly checkup. Does that make sense? So it's like so let's say nothing's wrong with me, and then I go get pregnant, and then I have to choose between carrying the baby to term and possibly dying because it might not be healthy for me to carry this baby. I don't get to make that choice. I have to carry that baby.
So is this under private insurance through your job, or is this through government insurance?
Well, but that's what's happening though, is the government wants control. So that this is why I don't understand. Like, I wish I could have a Republican explain to me something, because Republicans always say they don't want hands off, leave us alone, stay out of our houses, leave us alone. But in the same way, you're capping what I can do and you're stripping my rights from me while you're saying, leave us alone. Does that make sense? Because they want to make it a federal thing where it doesn't matter. Like, it absolutely can't be done. Like, there's not even an option. No matter what insurance I get, there would be an option. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I always wanted to ask a woman, but like, I choose not to have discussions with my clients and stuff like that about this. So
yeah,
I was just wondering,
you lose your right. So that's why I say, like, for me as a woman, it's like, and I'm one of those people. I'm an advocate. Like, I tell all women, like, go to the doctor, go get your pap smears, whatever. Go get your mammograms. Go get tested for breast cancer. For women, I haven't looked up this, so if this stat is wrong, like, nobody hold me to this. The highest killer of women is ovarian cancer. If you don't go get your yearly pap smear and it's not covered, you can probably almost not get detected for having ovarian cancer. You can't. Yes, some women that have ovarian cancer, you can tell you have it because there'll be other things. But if it's actually not covered for me to go to a doctor and get tested to see if I have ovarian cancer, but then at the same point you're telling me the ovarian cancer is the highest killer among women, I don't how do you reconcile that?
So I want to know some more information or see what you know, because I don't know. I'm asking out of curiosity. So in that, it seems like it wouldn't be beneficial for insurance to even do that. So I'm wondering, why would a political party even consider that? So, because at the end of the day, it's about business and cash. So why would an insurance company, why would a medical insurance company allow those things to take effect? Because I mean, you're losing out on arguably one of the biggest profits you can get is from women coming in, because more women than men anyway. So women coming in on a regular basis, you're missing out on that. Is it? And this is where I always lose it. Like, it doesn't seem like the government, whatever, but it doesn't seem smart for an insurance company who is very much involved in lobbyists. And in reality, to me, insurance companies have more say so in this than anything. So I'm wondering why they wouldn't want to benefit from having people come in the first place, because they get BS care half the time anyway.
Because you get, if you see more people if they're sick.
But you see more people if you see, so yes, but long term thinking, the more people die, the less money you get. So it's like, that doesn't, I don't know, to me it doesn't make business sense why insurance company would even allow this to happen.
It's because so for example, if something so there was a time where I didn't know what was going on with me, and I was like, something is going on with me. And I went to the doctor more times in a matter of 2 months than I've been to the doctor in 7 years. And come to find out, it was the dumbest thing ever, whatever. But I was going to the doctor. So every time I was going to the doctor, I was paying, I switched insurance halfway through, but at first I was paying $25 $25 copay. Then obviously I would get the bills they would send me because then the insurance would kick in. You know how that works, whatever. They made more money off of me in that 2 months than they had made off of me in probably 7-8 years. Because I was getting tests and I was getting blood work and I was using all these fancy machines and I was, you know what I mean? Like I was active. And I think that if you take away my right for you to detect those things in one appointment, now I have to keep showing up because, well, of course, this is extreme because I felt like I was dying. I wasn't, but you know what I mean? Like I'm going to continue to show up. And I think if I can get you to show up more often, I make more money off of you. But can I also just throw out the obvious answer too here? Sure. You're asking me these questions as a man because you don't know. Well, guess who's making decisions? A bunch of men that don't know. And that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like somebody is probably listening to me right now as a man that's going, wait a second, what? What? Like, what do you know what I mean? Because you don't have to know, right? And those are the same people that are making decisions. So that's why it's like, so when people say like some people will vote because she's a woman, well, yeah, because they think that woman gets them in a way that a man can't. And I don't want to say there's something wrong with that, but it's like, there is some comfort in knowing that you're going to have somebody in the room that can be like, absolutely not. This is dumb. This isn't going to help. Don't do this. Again, my opinion, somebody on the panel can disagree with me, but that's how, from a woman's health rights, that's how I feel about it. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. Because it's not just abortion.
Okay. And so things such as, I'm assuming Planned Parenthood, which are government funded and stuff like that, will be not accessible? Will they go away? Because I don't think they're going
they'd go away. And the thing about Planned Parenthood is I don't think people realize how helpful Planned Parenthood on basic level period stuff. Like, and I know we don't want to talk about periods and I won't talk about periods, but Planned Parenthood saved me in college because your periods can go all over the place. There's a lot of things that go into women having periods. Planned Parenthood is a lifesaver for a lot of reasons. And it's just basic level stuff that women deal with that it's like, again, I'm not going to get into that. If you're a woman listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but there's just things that happen. People aren't going to Planned Parenthood just for abortions. Trust me. I've been to Planned Parenthood a few times and neither one of them were for abortions. So it's a great tool, but you don't hear about that. You only hear about the other stuff. That's why I always say like, it's bigger than that. It's just bigger. Women's issues are bigger than I think people know.
So another question. I know I should be. I'm just asking out of curiosity. Sorry, but
yeah.
When you have, so I guess because I haven't read this bill. I don't really involve myself in politics that much. I think it's a interesting construct we've come up with as humans. It's kind of off-putting, but when you have a government, when you have the government saying they don't want to be involved in that part of it, for me, it sounds like, look, we're allowing the business to be business. And on a federal level, we have other things to do that we don't want to be involved in. I'm assuming you disagree, and I would like to know why you disagree. Like from a federal level, like because the state is a different concept. Like some states have a lot of money, some states they can allow things to happen. So, and from my understanding, Republicans won't allow the states to make a decision, not to let it be on a federal level.
So they want to allow the states to make a decision, yes. But if you're in a Republican state, then they don't want you to get to make a decision at all.
So voting locally would be more crucial to this thing at this point, because if a Republican gets elected, it depends if a Republican gets elected.
Which is exactly, which is the whole thing that people that vote don't realize. Yes, it's about voting for president. Yes, it's about yes, true. But that's why I think Lauren said earlier is like, if you have to also get involved in your local politics because that also matters and they all work together.
Yeah.
I think a good example of this is let's not even talk about, we can talk about student loan forgiveness. Joe Biden was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. Great. Everyone gets excited. Everyone's like, yay, well, he's going to cancel student loan debt. Yeah, woo, we're so excited. Great. And then who came in and swooped in and said, absolutely not? Somebody from another state that was a Republican that was like, no, we don't want to do this. We don't want to allow this because of this. And so now it goes to the Supreme Court and goes through all these things with this, which again, I don't even want to talk about the Supreme Court. That's a whole, I don't have the mental capacity, but that's the whole, you know what I mean? But that's like the process of things. And so that's why it's like, it really depends on your state. And I think, I could be wrong with this, but I think in 2022, there were, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, there were some states that like got certain things cemented in their state. And a lot of those states, if you go back and look, were Democratic states, because those people that were there were like, absolutely, we're not taking away rights from women. No, we're not doing that. But the states that are Republican, those people are leaving those states and going to get health care outside of their state.
Gotcha.
So, and again, this is how I feel about this, right? Like, this is why this topic, this is how I feel. You might talk to another woman and she might have a different perspective, but this is why it bothers me, is because I think it impacts women more than we think it impacts women on a multitude of levels that I don't feel like we often talk about.
Gotcha. No, I wanted your opinion. Like, I have a different opinion, but don't care to express here. But I like getting other people's opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. So yeah. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to say or anything else they want to comment about. We've been talking politics for a solid hour, and I am proud that we did this, because
I'd like to say something else, because I have a question for you about something else you mentioned. You did mention student loan forgiveness.
Yeah.
And if you
Wait,
do,
Bishop, can you mute yourself? Okay, there it goes. Go ahead.
And student loan forgiveness, we all know the government pretty much operates on interest. Like, it's all about fudging numbers and what money does and long term and stuff like that. Anyway,
yeah.
So do you feel like if you canceled everybody's student loans, do you think that would have a huge economical shift in the country?
I think I don't know how to define huge, but I think it would shift some things. But I don't know the answer to that. I would be lying if I tried to make up an answer to that. I do think it would help, but I don't know if the help would be this tremendous life-changing thing or not. Because, and just so we're clear here, I've been on record as saying, okay, do we want to, I'm progressive. I'm a progressive. My political views are very progressive. I realize 80% of the country is not progressive. So I got that. So I can contain my progressiveness and come back to the center more. I got it. I've always said, start with level of importance. For example, pay off doctors' student loan debt first. Pay off nurses' student loans first. Pay off teachers. So, like, find a way to do it to where, make it a tiered approach, and then figure if you're going to do it. But sometimes that makes too much sense. But like, if you've been a doctor for whatever year, you know what I mean? Like, and especially through COVID, I think that was total missed opportunity. Like, COVID was a perfect time to be like, you guys are literally risking your lives. Like, but whatever, we don't have to talk about that. So I don't know how monumental it would be, but I think it would impact. Rahide, welcome.
Can I speak now?
Yes, Bishop, you can speak.
All right. Now, I'm a theocracy independent, and I know there's rhinos on both sides. But what if, for once, we come together and utilize these grants that aren't being used to come up with a way to pay off those and not have to use the actual system that they're trying to use in the first place?
That's a good idea.
So can I ask a question, not to play devil's advocate? So do you feel, because I kind of, anyway, do you feel like if this system didn't exist, there wouldn't be grants? I feel like I don't think it would. There wouldn't be There wouldn't be grants if there was no system to where you pay for school.
There wouldn't be grants if there was no system where you
So
had to
there,
pay for school.
like,
So
so
what would be
Sally,
the alternative?
there wouldn't be an alternative. Like you
But let
wouldn't
me ask
grants
you a
It would be
question.
free.
It'd either have to be free or you'd have to have some sort of, I don't know, you have to come up with a different system. So it'd either be free or the way it is now.
Oh, listen, the progressive side of me is make it free. So that's you.
That's the same
You got
thing for me
you got
also.
yeah, you got like if you want to do free education, let's do that all day and twice on Sundays.
Well, wasn't college free in the beginning?
I don't know, was
Certain
it?
colleges. Certain
I heard
schools
that
were.
like colleges like UCLA and those colleges were free.
Were
Certain
they?
schools were, not all of them.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
were some free schools. But I think the way anybody couldn't go was the thing. So you couldn't
And
just I couldn't be from Texas and then go to UCLA and not have some type of uh like they would like they just won't let me in.
Which is, I think the translation of that now is if you live in a certain place now and you want to go to another school, you have to pay more. It's like out of state tuition or whatever. Listen, again, my progressive brain is like, absolutely make it free. Sure. I think the problem is with this country is anytime somebody finds out they can make money for something, we're screwed. I mean, look at insulin. And that's another thing where it's like people need insulin to actually live their life. And there are certain people that are coming in that want to take away people's ability to get insulin at a reasonable price. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that.
It's because we're too far down the rabbit hole. I mean, not whatever hole you want to call it. Too far
yeah,
gone.
that's
It's
what
not. Yeah, so you're too far gone. You can't take it back now.
Yeah.
and also our foundation didn't allow us to be all equal. So there had to been admins and
We're not
loopholes
equal.
put in so that we can move forward.
Somebody told me that we were equal.
Who's equal?
Somebody
Who's
told
equal?
me in one of my videos that I'm looking at all of this all wrong.
Who's equal? It depends on what you consider
everybody.
equal. I mean,
everybody's on the same playing ground.
You could say. I mean, I'm a hippie, so like spiritually, I mean, as you know, yeah, we are equal. But but when it
According
comes to like
your what is that thing called? The DT.
DMT,
What was it?
DMT,
Yeah, according to your
ayahuasca.
DMT experience, everyone
Yeah,
is
we're
equal.
all equal. But when it comes to like this plane of existence, we're not.
Yeah, I agree. Rawhide, what do you think?
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm like, is Rawhide even there?
yeah, yeah, I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Is it an echo?
No,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear
you just fine.
Yeah.
You sound like you in the bathroom a little bit though.
Yeah, bro. I don't have very much furniture, so everything echoes.
Oh, he's a minimalist.
But now, JB, you need to quit acting like you're not a Republican because you are, and that's fine. You know, be brave enough to say that's what you are, bro.
Can I tell you something? I've never voted or registered.
Okay, which is a crying shame. Okay, but
Sure is.
I'm not
So
here.
is that why you came up here? Like, I don't want to say sorry. I'm not.
No, I don't. I tell everybody. Like, I don't care about that. I've worked with a lot of political figures, but I don't vote. I tell them too. I'm like, until y'all give me something consistent, I don't fuck with it. I don't mess with it. Sorry.
Yeah, and I work in the government, so yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know. Look, I'm not even gonna get there throwing rocks at people who don't vote. I'm not gonna do that. But look, I'm not ashamed about it. Y'all know I'm a conservative, right? I also believe all Black people are conservatives and Republicans, the voting bloc. But I think Really Flawed brought up a point when she was talking about women's rights, right? And that's the problem that I got with any and everybody. I think I mentioned it in the chat. So we want to have it both ways. And unfortunately, I know I get into it with a lot of people. Because I take the equation and not just remove the variables, but the equation remains the same. Women's rights, you need to be able to say what you want to say. But then a Republican or a conservative on the flip side say, hey, don't tell me who I should and shouldn't allow, you know what I'm saying, within my religious beliefs, right? Don't tell me who I can and who I cannot serve, right? Serve. And that's the problem, right? We only see it through the viewpoint of what's advantageous to us. We don't really believe in the philosophy. What we do is believe in what's best for us, because human beings are the most selfish beings on the planet. But I digress. Let me just say this. I don't vote Republican, right? At all. But I get it, because if I was to sit and ask you guys, right, about, we were talking about sports, and I think you try to correlate it to that. And we want to say that you should give somebody something just because of X, Y, and Z. I think we would all be leaning from a conservative type of philosophy when we're dealing with sports. So you're right. I believe sports do tell us a lot about ourselves, right? I think that's why you look at the fan base of NFL. It's quite different than a fan base from the NBA, right? It's quite different. But
Hmm.
you know, I don't want to eat up too much time. Me personally, I don't like people to be hypocrites. Either you believe what you believe or you don't. And I'll end it with that.
Yeah, I've always agreed with your point that especially Black people, I think most older Black people are innately conservative. I think because of church, it almost
Yes.
you're naturally conservative. I find myself often pulling my parents. I'm like, we don't do that. Like, come on, like let's migrate this way. And like I think, but what I would love to know though is at what age does that stop? Because I think 30 and under people of color, I don't know if that would necessarily be true, but I definitely think it's true for the older generation.
I think it depends on where you're from.
That's true, because my aunts and uncles in Kentucky are very conservative. They're very conservative.
I'd
Well, let me
like,
just say, I think okay. It depends on what kind of parent you are, right? Let's talk about what we consider good parents, right? Once you become a parent, you don't care nothing about the liberal stuff. For example, if you're a good parent, what do you immediately try to do for your kids? You try to put them in a position to go to the best schools. And where does the best schools generally revolve around? Because the buffoonery doesn't matter anymore, because it's not about yourself. It's about your children. You're trying to put them in positions, right, where they can be successful and safe. Those are the two main things. So once children have arrived, it's amazing to me about the weed smokers and everybody that was cool with it, which I ain't knocking that. I'm just the hippie. The word I'm really looking for is the hippie.
The
It's funny how,
JBs.
right. It's funny how you wash that away, right? Because you don't necessarily want your children to do and make the type of mistakes that you have done. So you instantaneously, if you care, become a conservative at that point.
That makes sense.
I'm a conservative dater for that same reason. Like I usually I want my
Did you
woman
say
to,
dater?
yeah.
Oh, I
Like
can't wait to hear this.
like I like my
You're like
I
the
like
gift that keeps on giving. I love it.
like I want my women to represent what they would be as a mother. Or how I want them to be like, if I'm dating you, I want to be able to qualify you as somebody I can raise my child with. So in doing that, the in doing that, I want it's pretty much a conservative. I want them to have somewhat of a conservative lifestyle, because if you're being influenced to, if we have a kid and I don't like the way you acting, I'm like, no, I can't mess with you.
What do you
So,
consider a conservative lifestyle?
oh Lord, I live in California too. Um, stay out the streets.
Like, do you want your woman to work?
Yeah. So
Okay.
so hold on. So I'm conservative in appearance, like how you are outwardly to the world. What you do behind closed doors, I'm out with everything. But
I'm with it.
but if you want to do like if you want to work, like I'm for like if you want to pursue your dreams and all that, yeah. But also, I don't know if you live in California, but it's expensive. So if you want to work, go ahead and contribute what you can while you can.
But hold on, JB, let me piggyback on that because when we talk about conservative, right, we would remove, right, a homosexual couple. So let's take two women, for instance, they got their children. Let's say,
Mhm.
for instance, they got a combined income of $200,000 a year, but they have a child.
Mhm.
I'm telling you that if you would sit and talk with them, I'm telling you they're gonna come off conservative. They may be like, "Hey, I'm good with you marrying whoever you want to be with," but their values and how they stack through their life, especially from economics. Look at the stats. Don't listen to me. Look at that. They're conservatives through and through.
Oh yeah, my sister, same thing.
Right.
She, her, and her, yeah, exact same thing. They like when she used to not be all conservative. She got a kid. Her and her partner. Man, they conservative. They more conservative than me.
I guess I guess from a man's perspective, I don't understand what a conservative woman is like.
Say, boy, funny.
The same as a conservative man.
I I don't know what like but I guess maybe I just I don't quantify people in that regard. So maybe that's what it is.
Okay, let's
Maybe
talk
it's
about
like
stance. Let's talk about stance on taxes. Okay, let's talk about that. Republicans, right? They tend to favor right lower tax rates and all that. And remember the type of person that we're talking about. We're talking about middle class because let's be honest about it. If you go watch CNN or MSN or Fox, they're going to talk about these different type of voting blocks that you had already alluded to on another show. So let's talk about that. Those people tend to favor lower taxes. That's just one example of when you're trying to define whether a person is conservative or not, right? Morality to deal. I think we get too hung up on morality to try to place people in whatever category that they need to be in. And I think it's less about that and it's more about things of substance.
right. That's I think that's where I'm at. Like I've never dated a man and asked him his opinion on taxes.
Right.
Like I've never like I guess I'm just not understanding how that's a determining factor.
Because
Okay,
he's
I
talking about
get
like the conservative headlines, like your bullet points of people that are conservative. Most people agree on them, but then you say you're not, but then you don't want to be labeled as conservative. So I think
Oh,
there's
so is
different elements to
conservative
be
like the bad
conservative.
word?
Some people think that.
Yeah, some people do think that. But again, I understand what you're saying by not asking that question. But what we're trying to do, in this exercise, I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to check off little bullet points, right, to see exactly where you lay and
Where
not
they fall.
look at
Yeah.
the exterior, right? That's why I use the two women that's married living together. I'm saying that with the type of income, again, your show you talk about different voting blocks. What happens, right? They're going to vote overall what's in the best interest of the household. And what happens is the best interest of a household on those voting blocks, middle class and above, most of the time, they're going to lean conservative. Now, some of us, we hold our nose and we go hit that Democrat. We hold our nose and go do it. But hey, even in against our own, right? Our own what's favorable for us, we do that. But if that's just one point, right? I mean, that's just one aspect of it because you got the economic conservatives and you got the moralist conservatives, right? And then I think what's lost is that a lot of buffoons get lost on, I'm calling them that, on the morality portion, right? Trying to tell the person what they do in their bed, trying to tell a woman whether she should do what she wants with her body, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Or trying to lock the borders up. I mean, essentially, really none of that matters to you as a person overall.
Well, the woman part does.
Remember the person that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the married.
Yeah, but the thing is, but I think if you use that example and if you have two women, I would like to think that women care about that. If you have two men together, I would like to think the two men don't care about that. But I think when it comes to wait, what?
But that doesn't affect their lifestyle. In the example I gave you, right? Whether abortion is good or bad, the married couple that's gay, the two women that's married together, whether abortion doesn't directly affect them. That's a vote.
But it
for
does,
that.
though. How does it not
so?
affect them?
So the law of abortion does, the abortion law doesn't, but the rollout of what the bill is proposed to do, man.
Yeah, all of the women's health is a concern.
No. But they're not worried about that. Remember that they got insurance. They got all of that. All those things.
You're talking about the middle class that doesn't depend on.
Right. In the example that I'm giving you. Right. They got all that. They got it all. You follow what I'm saying? So other than a support for the people who haven't achieved what they have, it don't affect them one way or the other. They have a kid. They married. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why that abortion deal would bother them. Okay, I get what you're saying. You're saying the law portion of it as far as their insurance goes, right?
Well, all of it. I mean, even trying to get a freaking mammogram, for crying out loud.
But that's the insurance portion of it, right? That's the insurance, right?
Or like having places that are available that can do it. Because that's the other thing is they want to take away government funding to be able to even do those things.
But those points are not the points that are discussed when they're talking about abortion. They're simply
because that's my whole point. Is that's why I always say sometimes I don't feel like we are having the right conversations. We're talking about this conversation, but the conversation is actually here. But we're talking, you know what I mean? Like again, Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and the thing that everybody takes away from it is now women can't have abortions, which cool, but there's a bigger thing happening. But that's not what we're talking about. We just talk about that thing,
right? Because the bigger thing is not what sold it.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying?
It took me a minute. It took me a minute, but I'm there. Okay, I'm there.
Right, that didn't sell it. So again, you go back to that couple. We're talking about what, because your question was what makes a woman. What's the difference between a woman conservative and a male conservative? And I told you they're both the same. So in that long dissertation that I gave was just an example of telling you that they're the same. Because once you're married and you have children, say what?
I welcome all dissertations.
Oh no, I'm just saying though, with that particular type of voting block is what, and probably a large percentage of it, that's that voting block.
In this particular case with the women's rights thing, shouldn't we be more upset about lobbyists than the actual person that's saying these laws? Because it's you're essentially hearing the person that's speaking for other people when they come up with the laws. This is what.
Well, the problem, what you're saying makes sense from like what you're saying, right? Like a first thought, yes. However, I didn't vote for a lobbyist. So in essence, they're doing their job.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't fault somebody for doing their job. Whether I like the job or don't like the job, it doesn't matter. But that's what they're supposed to do. And I didn't vote for them. I voted for this person that's supposed to be standing up and saying, hell no. So that's why my issue is with the person. The lobbyists are just a part of it's like, you know what I mean? Like the lobbyists to me are like the refs in football sometimes. Like sometimes the refs are just doing what the NFL kind of wants them to do in a lot of ways.
Hey,
But
my question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My question is, why is abortion considered a woman's rights issue alone? Why isn't it considered?
No fucking clue.
Why isn't it considered?
Buddy, that's a touchy subject.
Why isn't it considered a family right? Why?
Let's don't go down that path. Let's don't go down that path.
Bro. Let's go down and forget it. Sorry, guy. I'm sorry.
Wait, before y'all go on a tangent, can I ask really one?
Oh, that's not a tangent. Family right.
No,
Go
I
ahead,
just don't want
bro.
to. Hey, Mr. James, could you highlight his deal?
Mr. James? I just don't like when I have to do complicated things. Mr.
No,
James.
Mr. James, look,
It's 3 up, 4 up.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was not. Are you talking about this?
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, JR Boxing, if I didn't scroll down. I didn't see you on the thing. I don't know how long you've been back there. I'm sorry.
I think this right here, which I don't even consider in this particular conversation that we're having, I would consider myself a young voter, right? Because an old generation voter, you're talking about 80s, 70-year-old people, but which they vote in droves. Okay, but see, I think this right here is what hurts the Democrats right there, because this, to me, what I read is that young people lack the understanding of voting. Thus, we just chalk it up to that and we sit on our hands. Because if I was to ask them, what's the difference between the old generation and their voting and their traditions and of the past and of today, I don't think there's very much difference at all.
Now that is probably true.
Can I speak?
I think, yeah, hold on, Bishop, and then you can go after me. I think what happens is we think things have changed because the world has changed, but people, to the core of us, really haven't changed. Things have just changed. Go ahead, Bishop.
Yeah. What happened is understanding that the foundational viewpoints of the older generation or the baby boomers, they had different criteria that they had to attend to, but understand they're the foundation that we're standing upon. So a lot of times it's psyops. So if the new generation can't see or value what they have done or do the research to make themselves, comprehend what was set forth, then I can cancel them or disallow them to cancel themselves out by, allowing them to dive and then just keep my beliefs instead of trying to bridge the gap.
I can see that.
Let's pull it down. Let's pull his statement down to the studs, right? Because in order for what he's saying, in my opinion, y'all can tell me if y'all agree or disagree. In order for that to be true, let's use this example. Let's use racism because we know that's a hot topic and it get everybody riled up, right? If I could remove some of these words that he said and I can say racism today, right? Saying you have racism in the past because they're stuck to traditional deal, which would allude to the fact that you don't have racism today. Because if that is true, what he's saying, racism should have died.
Well, yeah.
Should have not. Why did it carry on? Because in order for it to carry on, that means some young people that's racist.
Mm-hmm. It's true. That's very true, actually.
But I didn't say, now hold up now. I didn't say that it changed, but
Bishop, I ain't talking about
the
you.
comment's not to you, Bishop. It's to James. Or James?
Here we go again, in which I hate that I even got up here to talk about that because
my bad. I make the gumbo.
Good. I think that's a very narrow-minded view, and I don't think that statement. And I'm not really trying to jump on dude. I really ain't. That ain't the point because I'm really not talking to him. I'm talking to a larger person.
I
People.
wish that Mr. James would come up and explain more about the statement. Because the one thing
Well,
about writing is we could be taking that to mean something, and it was just on an actual one point that you made.
Well, he said we're missing the point. Okay, maybe I'm
Oh,
missing.
see, yeah, that's why I was like, I feel like. Hold on. What did he say? Y'all are missing the point. I have no problem with conservative mindset or party. I voted for a lot. I'm stating today's Republican Party. Oh, see, and I agree with that. Because so it's interesting because let me say this. I think their messaging is different. I don't know though to their core what they actually believe. So I'm not sure, I guess.
I
What does
don't
he
think
mean
it's
by
changed at all. Yeah, I don't think it's changed
well,
actually at
well,
all.
well, okay. He is 100% right if you're talking about pre-civil rights, because basically what happened is Democrats were the Republicans once upon a time,
Yeah.
and Republicans are the Democrats today. All right. So, and then they flipped the script. I forgot what they called it, but what happened is that the Dixiecrats ran to the Republican side, and then the Democrats turned into what was back in the day which was back in the day the Republicans. That's the general speaking history of Republicans and Democrats. But I don't want to bore y'all with that. But if he's talking about that, he's 100% correct. I don't
Right.
disagree
Yeah.
with
I
that.
think he's right. Yeah.
I don't know.
You
Man.
disagree, JB?
I kind of do because I'm just saying. The only reason I'm saying I disagree because I've lived in multiple portions of the United States, and I grew up in a mainly Republican place, and I've dealt with a lot of Democratic people who helped them run for office and all kind of stuff. And I don't think it's changed at all. I remember one day I was watching this movie with my mom, and it was in black and white, and it was talking about border security, and it was based on, and it was a black and white movie. And the stuff you see on the news today is literally saying the same thing word for word. This is 40 years. I mean, this movie's so old. And I was like, yo, this literally, the talking points, the verbiage, like it was almost saying the exact same thing verbatim. And then when you look at old speeches from presidents and old speeches from congressmen and stuff like that, they literally say the same speeches over and over and over again for the last 50, 60 years. I don't necessarily think any of it's changed. Also, the bigger thing we're having is we don't consciously think about church and state, but that is not separate at all. So I think we're actually having a religious point. We're having a religious discussion with leaving the religious part out of it. So I don't think there's even a way for it to change.
What do you think, JR Boxing?
Oh, my mic was muted. One first thing I want to say is thank you, really, Floyd, for having this, uncomfortable conversation because politics is very uncomfortable for a greater part of the United States, for sure, and across the globe a lot.
Let me hold on.
So I want to say thank you to that. And then I also want to give you your flowers. I've seen your growth from video 1 all the way up to
Why are
video
y'all being so
18
nice?
today.
I'm not going to be emotional today.
So
Thank you.
I want to say I applaud your growth. And also, I want to say rest in peace to the Honorable Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. That was my first indoctrination into politics as a
No.
15-year-old young man. I was a part of her staff when she was running for a district seat in the great city of Houston, Texas. So I want to get that out there. And I also want to say, please get out, register to vote. I'm not concerned of what affiliation your party is with or anything like that, but register to vote and, vote in the interest of your cause and what moves you. But the conversation, I'm loving where it's going. And my thoughts on it is that in today's society, the different brackets that we fall in within our age groups, uh, a lot of people tend to vote towards their interests or what's going to move them. And a lot of the country tends to vote for power. we're kind of falling in between that realm right now of, we're getting past that baby boomer phase. A lot of those baby boomers are up in age, and they're falling by the wayside. And so a lot of baby boomers tend to vote for the interests of their grandchildren or their children. Um, I heard Rawhad speak to the household. Uh, Spot on. A lot of women in the household, they tend to vote on the interests of their husbands. That's just traditionally the way the United States kind of fell. I think now the way the Generation Z and the millennials and where we're trying to weave ourselves into this political atmosphere is finding what is meaningful to us. And with the mudslinging and the politics of it all across all the national airways of news, TV, and entertainment, I think a lot of people get skewed on their viewpoints of what they see. Uh, Growing up as a middle class young man and having a lot of, I'm not going to say benefits to uh, my disposal, but I found a way to make it happen throughout the loopholes of society, right? So that's why I think politics is so important, man. My uncle took me to be a part of Sheila Jackson Lee's staff, and I forever am grateful for him taking me to that opportunity at such a young age and understanding politics at a younger age and kind of growing into it. I was overly joyed to cast my first ballot when I turned 18 and doing my research on candidates and things like that. But what I will say is research. Do your research. Get out there and read what people are backing, because the local politicians are the ones that are moving the needle the fastest for however you
Oh,
choose to
oh my!
vote. They
Say
move it they move the needle so fast that there's a meeting happening in your neighborhood right now you might not even know. So
Especially if you have an HOA.
yes. So understand your local, politicians as well, because these local politicians take these same views and they move to a national stage. And because that's, most of their ambitions to have power, have control, have a influence, right? So be tapped in with your local politicians, man. And I love the way the conversation is going. And my ears are wide open to learning something new or discussing something that may itch my skin, So
Yeah.
thank you.
And I
hey,
know,
really, Paul.
oh, go ahead, Rohan.
Hey, can I ask old man one question? Right? It may be two in there, but I just gotta ask one question. He said something. I gotta ask you.
Wait, do I need to lower my mic?
Do y'all mind?
Keep your mic
Do I need to put
lowered.
it on raw high level?
All right, old man, I
turn
gotta
my
ask.
mic down. Turn my mic down.
Old man jumped. Now y'all do know the old man jumped on me because I said I don't care that they put the black baseball players into major league stat. I told him I don't care about that, and he got mad at me. Right? Right, old man. Ain't that true? Is that true? Yeah, that's a true statement.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I'm
mad,
good with
but
that.
yeah.
Yeah. I know. Well, let's use the term "mad" very loosely. Okay,
Okay.
but now, what the question I got to you is this: you got upset because not upset. You were
Triggered.
perturbed or triggered. There you go. You were triggered by me saying I didn't care about that. Yeah, you said that about the non-voting. I didn't know. I don't know if you said you're not going to do it or what. I don't know if you made a stance, but you verbalized it, and I'm like, how can you get upset about me with that when the people used to get hung, drugged by trucks, hung from trees, shot, killed, all of that from simply just walking and trying to cast a vote. They went through that, so you will have that ability to vote. How in the world can you get mad at me about the baseball Hall of Fame and not mad at yourself about, man, my peoples was stripped down, tarred, feather, hung from trees, and all of that just for the ability to go cast a ballot, bro?
So we want me to talk about the baseball thing first, or what?
Well, I'm
No,
just,
I think
no. I want you to talk about the how. How
So the
does you
right
feel
to
about it?
vote is not about you have to vote. It's about having the choice to vote if you want to or not to. So that's where I'm coming from. So me getting kind of irritated about you not caring about what our people have done in the past and it being recognized is, to me, is completely different than what you're bringing up. The
Oh, really?
comparison. Yeah.
Oh, so 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 you saying that they got all that done to them in the past for your choice not to do it, not necessarily the choice to go do it.
this is interesting.
So, because
Baby, he don't need the captain save a hole.
This is interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Gee.
This is interesting.
I'm sorry, I've been talking the whole time. I've been muted. It's about the right to vote, not a mandate, right? So a
Oh,
vote. Do you believe that protests and boycotts are valuable?
ugh.
Ooh.
I don't
Ooh.
know how that relates, but to answer your question,
I'm putting myself on mute. I'm gonna enjoy this.
the foundation of the country says that's valuable,
So to me, if you
i.e., the
had,
Boston Tea Party. But go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So me not voting, I'm not. This is what I put in the comment that was the bot took away. But I don't believe in voting for the lesser of two evils. I will not vote for what I think. Now it's not evil, but I'm just using that phrase. But if I don't like two candidates or three candidates, I'm not going to vote just because, oh, you should vote for one. Because no, my form of protest or my right to vote or not to vote, I'm using that right. So
A
I
moral
don't believe,
decision.
yeah, it's my decision. If I'm not effing with you, I'm not effing with you. I don't care what side you're on. If you're not working for the causes I want you to work for, then I'm not voting. If enough people in, say, any group, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, say we're not effing with you, and they need those votes, these people lose by a certain amount of votes that you can make the difference. No matter, so people always say, oh, the black man's vote is not valued right now because it's not that many of us. If we don't vote, you know how valuable our vote becomes?
No, I don't. But that ain't even what I asked you though. That's not the question that I asked you.
Well,
I
what's
didn't
the
even ask you
question?
that. I asked you that those people that sacrifice their lives in the most horrific manner, did they sacrifice their lives for you to have the right to vote or for you to vote?
In my understanding, is for the right to vote.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not a
All right. Let's go
mandate.
back. Whoa, see, there you
So,
go. You threw that on the backside, the mandate. No. That's not what I asked you. Like, what I'm saying is though, like that dude that's hanging from this tree and he got 3 breaths left, and he just sees old man, and old man says, "Hey, I ain't voting." That he was like, "Hey, that's cool. I'm hanging from this tree because I wanted you to have the ability to say you're not going to vote." That's what you're saying.
This is what I'm saying. Let me let you know my
You
mindset.
ain't gotta clean it up, bro. Just stand on it. It's fine to
I'm
say
not.
that's what you believe.
No, you're not letting me speak. So my personality trait is, and you should know this already, I'm more inclined to rebel and fight than to try to navigate through somebody's system. So I'm not going to vote if I don't want to vote. And I believe my ancestors, I don't know about your ancestors, but my ancestors fought for us to have the right, the choice.
All right, that's cool. I'm done with it. I ain't trying to back you down. That's cool. We good. We good. I respect it. Kinda. You
question,
good.
question, Rod.
I want to
So,
interject with that statement right there. I don't think it was for the
so,
right. I think it was more so
Go ahead,
to
bro.
exercise the right
hello? Yeah.
to vote.
Am I muted? Hello?
So I got a question for the
We
people
hear you,
who,
Raw, and
We hear
yeah.
you, Rod.
I agree with that, JR.
So
I didn't
what? So are we
That was
willing to
more.
pass? Are we
That was
willing
for
to
you.
bypass morals in order to function in a society that we don't agree with? Like, and where is that beneficial for anybody?
Well, what are you referring to when you ask me that
What do you?
question?
Yeah. What do you? What
When
do you
you're
mean
talking
by
about vote, if his idea for voting or not voting is because somebody doesn't morally agree with how he believes the country should be or should be ran, why would it? He does have the right not to vote and stand on his own morals. Like I don't see where there even should be
But
an issue with that.
But JB, when people start talking about people got the right to do whatever, bro, you got the right to get butt naked, run around outside, run down the street, do whatever you want to do. No one's arguing that point. I mean, that's like saying that's like arguing is the sun gonna shine, right? You got whatever right that comes with it, right? The question is ramifications, consequences, things that you got to deal with. That's what that's what that is. But if you I mean, to me, the right that for you, a human being to do something is an irrelevant point to even having a conversation about. Because I'm always going to say, you're right. Anybody got a right to do that. My answer is always going to be yes. You have a right to do that. My question to old man is this: I think as our ancestors 400 years of slavery. After that, hung, strong. I ain't got to go through that for that. The point is that dying from the fact of having the opportunity to vote, I would have more respect for his response if he said, I'm going to vote because they did that, but I'm just going to write somebody's name in. See, to
But
me,
what did that? Go ahead.
What's the point? Is that what
Yeah,
point?
that's to me.
That makes
That's
no sense.
morally
It's like,
irresponsible.
I'm just going to vote for a third party because I don't want to vote for the other two.
What's the point? Okay, I can tell you what the point of it is. The point is that you're utilizing the functions that you have to do that. Your point can be, I think your point makes greater, your point is more valid by going there, writing somebody's name in. As you said, if everybody did that, guess what? People are going to talk about 1 million write-ins.
Okay,
10 million write-ins. Wait, hold on.
Wait, let me be clear before you go on, because this is important. Let me be clear. This is important. It's very important before you finish.
You're turning this to the rawhide show. This is not what it is.
Let me finish. Let me say this statement.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Okay, what I'm going to say is going to change the whole perspective.
My only point is that if you're looking right to make a difference in people to identify, not going to the poll, ain't nobody paying attention to that.
So let
they
me
want you not to go to the poll.
Let me clarify. When I say I only voted once, that means I was not that I wasn't registered and I didn't vote. I've only voted for the president once. So in that answer, does that change your perspective? Because I'm voting. I'm just not voting for the president if I don't believe in that person.
Whoa, I'm sorry. I apologize. Say that one more time.
So when you register to vote, you do not have to vote for the presidency. So me voting, I vote. If I don't believe in the president, I'm not voting for that person.
Okay, well, my bad. We shouldn't even never had this conversation. I apologize. I thought you said
because I vote. Yeah, that's why I want to clarify.
I apologize. I didn't hear that part of your
statement. Well, I didn't go into that specifics earlier because we were just focused on presidency. But no, I vote. I just don't vote for a president.
Okay, well then we ain't got that person. We good, man. We good on Dan. We on the same page.
I just simply applaud the passion, my brothers. That was a very spirited and passionate conversation.
I'd like to know how y'all feel about that. Am I wrong in how I feel?
I kind of question it. I mean, I'm gonna be serious. I question it, and the only reason I question it is because, I think how can I articulate this to where it makes sense? I think when you use past situation, I think we use past instances to justify a common or a new act. I think it's more nuance to it needs to be more nuanced. Like if you have a rule that happened, I kind of don't want to have this discussion. This is gonna make me sound crazy. When you people are getting hung and all that stuff, like I know about all that. But when they allowed, like, what was the purpose for letting them vote at that time? Like during the time when it's like, all right, we're gonna let these black people vote. why would they? Was it at a good Samaritan, or were they like? Was it a just cause where they're like, yeah, they need to be voting, or was there something else behind it? But they
Something
did see
else.
some money. Oh, okay,
It was
so
something. They were slaves.
we're voting.
No,
So
I'm
we're
talking about
voting.
post. We talking about post. I'm talking about post.
He's talking about post. He's talking about like,
Oh,
yeah. You're talking about like 30s, 20s, all during them
yeah. I
times.
think what Rawhide's point was is how can you be so pro? Quite frankly, how can you be so pro-black? But in the same token, these black people that were slaves that had nothing had to fight and fight and fight just to get basic level rights. And the things that they were fighting for are the rights that you have today. How can you not use those rights?
I don't
But
think
then,
I don't think you can couple those together.
oh, but that's when old man said, no, I do vote. I just don't vote for president or whatever. But so I think that was Rawhide's original point. Is that what you were saying, Rawhide? Is like if you're standing on this thing for you not caring about the Black Baseball Hall of Fame, why do you care about anything black? Why, like, how are you deciding on what you care about, kind of thing? But that was dissolved. But what you're saying, JB, is you actually disagree with that point.
Yeah, I disagree with that point because I don't think you can couple those things together. Like I see how I see where you can be like, yo, this led to this, but listen. So I see where you can be like, this right led to these things now. But from what we know, so lack of education of what reasons were the right, like I just don't believe it was with a good intentions is what I was trying to say. Letting black people vote, I don't think they were allowed to vote with good intentions. And the reason is because if you look at society today and the mindset of what black, and I'm speaking in generalities. And you know, people are like,
What?
oh, we still.
JB,
I'm
wait a
speaking in
minute.
general. Listen. So I can give you an example. So Kanye West, we the new slaves. You know how that was a thing.
Oh my God. Do
Listen.
not put
Listen.
what I said with
Listen.
Kanye West, bro.
Hold on. Listen. I'm speaking of a mindset of some people. That's what I'm being general.
It's
So
it's not Kanye West anymore.
whatever that name is, I don't. Whatever his name is. The black
Jesus,
Hebrew
that's what he's
Israelite,
called
Jesus.
himself
Yeah.
now.
So if you have a generation now that is of that mindset, and then you have a generation like, bro, we about the same age. We're like, yo, people fought for this. We should be honoring them or pay homage to them by exercising the rights that they fought for. So you bypass our generation, then now it's like, oh, it was all done. Like that doesn't matter anymore. So in the future, so say we go off, we the baby boomers, we done. Is those things even gonna matter in the future?
Okay, all right. Can I just get in there before I lose my mind? Hey, look, I get it, bro. I get it. I get it, bro. The only question I got from your statement, and I'm talking to you, but I really ain't talking to you.
I'm speaking of. I mean, I'm not
No,
just saying.
you
I'm
good,
just
bro.
speaking for a point.
No, I got you. I know. I got you. Why is it that Black African Americans are the most dismissive group of people, in my opinion, that absolutely don't give a F about where they came from? You won't hear a Jewish person talk about the histories and the things that they went through and dismiss it as it don't matter today, right? You won't hear a Jewish person say, hey, well, it's a new age. None of that shit matters. You wouldn't hear, you don't hear Japanese or Asian communities totally throw away the type of culture that they evolve from. It's like we will so quickly throw out there, well, this is the new day and this none of it. Oh my God.
Hey, but Rawhide, you have to include
That's what I
yourself
was
in
saying.
that conversation with the baseball talk because you totally dismiss that baseball.
Right, I'm sad.
Oh
I'm
Lord.
Okay, let's not do the.
Oh
Let's
man,
leave
I
the
take it back.
baseball where it's at.
But I'm
But
just saying the
also,
statement he just said is contradictory because he did that when he went against the baseball inductees for the Negro Leagues.
That means you didn't hear anything I said.
That-
But look, okay, but really,
Hold
Paul
on,
don't want
go
to
ahead.
talk.
no, I was just saying you can finish your thought, but I want to make sure that we let DC and Cliff talk because they've been up here and they haven't said anything. You can
I
finish
apologize.
your
Let me
point,
shut.
but-
Hey, I'm finna go ahead and kick rocks. I appreciate y'all because they got way too crazy for me. So I'm out. So appreciate it, really, Paul. I thank y'all. Appreciate it. Hey, nothing but love for everybody on the panel, man. Thank y'all.
Big
Bye.
salute.
Later, Rob.
Peace out.
Cliff or DC, I don't know if you have any thoughts or if you've heard anything that you want to comment on or what your thoughts are.
I sat back and listened to the conversation. There's been a lot of conversation on that as far as voting, what happened during the civil rights movement. I think our rights were, I think the right to vote was fought for us to have a right because before then we weren't allowed to vote. So it gives you an option whether you want to or not. I agree with old man. I can't support someone that's, how can I put this, not supporting my people, as to say. There are certain things that we want our constituents, which is our congressmen, our senators, things of that to do. And if they're not going to do it and they're up for a term, why would you want them in there? Another thing that gets me is the parties. Ever since we fought for the right to vote, almost, I'm going to say about maybe 85% of Black families have been Democrat and basically still are. A lot of people fail to realize that that was the party of the KKK. Not saying that, you know, hey, that's a bad thing or anything, but a lot of people tend to ridicule questioning the Democratic Party on certain topics. It's like, as a Black person, you're not supposed to question what the Democratic Party is doing for you. You just vote and that's it, that's all. That's a lot of people's consensus now that I'm noticing.
I do actually agree with that. I do think that that's how people feel.
And you know what, really, what I've noticed is it's changed over the years. And I think because, and I'm not going to even lie, you grow up in your household, and once you get old enough to understand the election process and you find out your whole family is Democrat, you naturally go with that.
That's fair.
So I think that nowadays a lot of younger people are doing more research or finding out which policies best fit them on which side of the table, and that's what they're going with. And then a lot of people are saying, you know what, they're looking at it like, oh man, I don't like either one, so guess what, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna vote on the couch. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for, well, now Kamala. So that's where I'm at with it right now. I just didn't totally agree with Raw's idea of the people dying for us to vote, because they died for a lot of civil rights that we didn't have, that we don't even, a lot of us don't even exercise. I mean, if we can be technical, they died for us to have the right to get the same education as everyone else. A lot of people don't take advantage of that. You know,
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Ray.
Something you said, because I think the video I released yesterday targets the people who, like, why, as a Black person, I've never felt like I'm supposed to vote Democratic. I know I hear people say that.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody in my life has ever said to me, well, you know who you're supposed to vote for. Right? Like nobody. So for me, when people say that, it's not my experience. So I I don't understand it. Are
Right.
you saying that because have people actually said that? Is that like the situation you grew up in? And this isn't just directed at you. If anybody has had that, I've just
I've
never
had
had
that
that
experience.
experience. Okay, so
Yeah.
the
I've had that.
context of that, and maybe too, this might help clear some things. Most of my family lives in Kentucky and I live in Texas. And so historically, as of today, both of those places have always been very red. So
Yeah.
the impact of our vote is for very local things. And we've been responsible for changing local things. And now if you look at a Texas map, you can kind of see a little bit of a blue explosion happening as we begin to kind of see what's going on because we're moving in different ways. And that's a whole different conversation for another day. I'll get off that. But so when people say that, I've just never had that experience. So can somebody tell me how that works? Like, are you saying like you go to the poll or people just look at you and they're like, hey, you're voting with us, right? Like, or
Yeah, I've heard
okay.
I've had people come up to me. I just had people assume of what I believed in just because of my appearance. So, like I live in a completely different place than where I grew up, and so they just assume that I'm a Democrat, or they assume I only vote Democrat or believe in these certain things. So they'll be like, "Hey, what do you think of Kamala? What do you think of Barack? Don't you think Barack Obama was the greatest thing to Black people?" And I'm like, "Yo, what are you talking about? Don't ask me a question ask me a question like how I feel about it. Don't just assume that I think these things because I think from the outside looking in, just because I'm Black, they assume that
Right.
that's what I vote."
Can I speak?
Go ahead, bro. I'll go after you.
Okay. This is Bishop. Hey, as a theocracy independent since 1993, where there is rhinos on both sides, I don't know if there's still a two-party system because there could possibly be a shadow government in the playing both sides against one another.
I
I don't
want
Hold
to.
on,
disagree with that.
DC Carson hasn't said anything.
What's up, everybody? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right. So my perspective is, of course, being retired military, all of our career, we had to be apolitical. I think that was a good thing because it caused you to be able to look at stuff, as well as being African American all my life. I see things. So just some quick points. One thing I would say is that we have to understand the difference between optics and outcomes. And I think in our community, we're way too focused on what it looks like versus what it will be. I, um, I think that when we go in and vote, we have to have an agenda. And I think when, as African Americans, if you don't have an agenda, if your agenda is being dictated to you, then you don't really have the leverage. I don't think we leverage our vote the way that we should, which means I will give
Right.
you this if you give me that. It's a negotiation. And I think we take away from that because what I hear, and I have to understand people logically as well as my training. If you tell me vote like my life depends upon it, then I got a bunch of questions in that. I'm going to say, so basically, if we don't achieve outcome A, and then you're telling me my life now is in jeopardy. So now I'm going to ask you what the contingency plan is. And what happens in this environment is that no one wants to have the intellectual and hard conversations um, to lead people to a logical outcome. Because sometimes the thing I've learned over the years is that sometimes you have hard and harder decisions
Mm-hmm.
and you have to make those. So for example, I tell people this: we talk about the identity of the politics and the nationalism, but I've been sitting there telling folks, I say, have you looked at the national security? And most people don't have the knowledge base to discuss that. And then so I've been saying, hey, as I was leaving out the military, I'm not gonna go into detail, but I just saw some things. We're gonna leave it like that. And when you see a simultaneous two Chinese bombers being escorted by Russian fighters near Alaska as the president is about to speak, that's a message. That's
Yeah.
saying two peer nations are two peer nations are doing joint operations to send a message. And I think those are things that we can't get so focused on the day-to-day stuff that we deal with, that we forget the big picture, that we got to look at it all and realize, folks, we're in an environment where there's hard and harder decisions. The other thing I would say is that I've learned, and this goes back into voting, is that politicians, because I've had to actually go and sit and talk to politicians, that you have to use those as resource. One of the things I learned is to put my full blown politics at the door, and when I go in there, my job is to take care of. I look at it to take care of people and resources.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get. I want to make sure people are taking care of resources. So I think in our community, we're too focused on the vote and not focused enough on taking care of each other. Growing up in Tuskegee, I saw Black excellence all over the place. My mother had a PhD, father had a degree. I mean, I saw it. But what was key about that wasn't just voting; it was because truth be told, folks, we don't necessarily have the Black community as a past. We have Black connectivity, but we don't necessarily have the Black community that we have. So what I want to say is that we have to start having conversations of what are our strategic objectives, and it can't just be this is the way that we always do it. We are in an environment where we can't do it the way that we have. Again, I'll point back to two bombers, two fighters. That's never good. And we have to
Yeah.
get to a point now as people, we start having like we're having right now, is that, okay, what is my politics? Does it need to change? What is it? Do I look at, people can say, I don't want to vote for, Republicans, but there are Republicans. I can walk off into the office right now, get letter recommendations from my daughters. I've done it, my sons, as well as I can do it for Democrats. I look at it, it's all a means to what my family objectives are. So I just
Right.
encourage people to shut up at this point. But that as we look at our politics, we have to stop looking at the outcomes. What the optics? I'm sorry. What do you want your outcomes to be? And then we need to go from there. What's our major thing as a again a community slash connectivity? Do we want to achieve? That's the stuff we should be the loudest about.
Right. Yeah.
So I think something you mentioned, and I took notes because by now everybody should know I'm a note taker in real life.
That's funny because I took notes too.
So one of the things that you touch on, that I try to touch on with my videos, but sometimes sometimes I feel like I'm drowning out my message because I get so fired up, is why I wanted to create this live, because I'm getting so much interesting things from so many different people that I even decided to make a video. And then I got people that are like, the obvious question, what has so-and-so did for Black people, right? That's usually the first question I get. But the second question I get is, well, can you explain why you said this one thing? Well, what did you mean when you said, and that lets me know that people don't know how to talk about politics. They don't know how to know what they need. And a lot of people don't even know why this really matters. And that is that intellectual conversation that you were saying. And I'm not saying like we're here having this intellectual panel, but I'm going to say here, if you go to a lot of places right now on YouTube, I guarantee you they're not having conversations like this. And some people might be like, this is so boring. This is so whatever. But what it is it's different. And it's providing a different way for us to use our brains and to think about something differently that you might not necessarily think about if no one's pushing you to think about it. And that's why I make a video. When you see my little ugly picture come up in my freaking thumbnail that I probably spent way too much time on, I want you to be like, what the hell is she even talking about? And click and see because it's like, how dare her make this video? Yeah, how dare me? Now think about it. Like, and that's what I'm trying to do is like, let's think about these uncomfortable things for a minute. Let's talk about them. I don't know everything. I'm up here. You guys probably know things about things I don't know about. I probably know things about things you don't know about, but that's what makes this amazing, is what we're trying to do is figure out what the hell is going on.
Well, I'll say something that I do. Like when people ask me, how do you protest? I'll go read to a kindergarten class in an underserved area, because those kids were like, we're trying to reach adults and we could be changing tomorrow. If we people really looked at what Rosa Parks did, she said, if you lose your youth, you lose. And you can see that going on to a certain degree
Whitney
now.
Houston said that too. Whitney Houston said
Who
she believes the children are their future.
who is this? Who is this
Exactly. And then
talking?
the
I
other
like this
thing,
guy.
like for example, you
What'd
you
you
want to
say,
change.
JB?
I said, who is this
Hey,
talking? I like this guy.
oh,
Who is?
DC.
Oh, it's DC. Oh, hey,
DC.
what's up, DC? I mess with you,
Yeah,
DC.
it's DC. What's going on? Hey, I appreciate that, bro. It's the same. Back to you. But for example, if we want to change healthcare, how many times do we do a?
Oh, DC will. Oh, he's there.
He
He
got
is.
kicked out. Oh, okay.
I didn't do it.
DC, we can hear. Can you
You
hear
back?
us? I can see
DC, you
him.
dropped out. We can see you. We can't
Yeah.
hear you. Bishop has something to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for
I
it,
just
Bishop.
wanted to. I first and foremost, truly big salute for us even being able to articulate and make sure that we comprehend and expound and enunciate, being able to say our viewpoints without getting angry. What I would say is, what if this is the actual seed of us bridging the gap to where no matter what side you fall upon, or if you fall in the middle, what's important to us and our family going forward? And what can we do to make sure that, if nothing else, we heal any past trust issues or whatever is keeping us from being united as one, and truly unite. I don't have to believe exactly how you believe to get stuff done, and you don't have to take my views to get stuff done. But the bottom line is, we have to start tackling the issues necessary to move America forward.
Yeah.
Oh,
I also just wanted to say, what is there? 8 people up here? So there's 8 people up here. Can I count? There's 9 people up here. There's 9
Right.
people up here. And one of us identifies being a woman. The other 8 of you identify as Black men, which Neymar, I'm assuming you don't identify as being a Black man, which is fine. My point though is, this is self-fulfilling for me, because as a Black woman, I hear often that Black men don't care about politics. Black men can't talk about politics. Black men don't have opinions. Black men don't care. Black men are not impacted. Black men are not intelligent enough to have this conversation. That is a lie. And this is proof that that is a lie. And
But
I
really
just want
flawed.
to call attention to that if you give people a space, no matter what they look like and what they support, if you give people a space, they will talk. You just have to give them the space to talk. Go ahead, DC. So kudos
But
to
I
you,
think
Black
part of
men.
that also is because salute everybody on the panel and really flawed. I think that part of that is because people want things to be done their way. Like before my phone was going out on me, is that, like, for example, if somebody mentions healthcare, I'm like, well, let's do a water and step challenge. Most of our health issues are doing good. We're not moving. We're not drinking enough water. We're really not getting enough fiber in this. We're taking in too much sugar. So there are things that we can do, but we're trying to ask somebody else to do something that we can do ourselves. I do hear the things in the comments about the brothers. We're here. It's just sometimes the conversations can be so over the top, and a lot of us as men is like, man, listen, why am I going? I'm not finna fight you. If you don't want to listen, all right, deuces, go ahead. I'm gonna still rock and make solutions and get with the. Basically, you gonna fight with the soldiers that want to fight. You're not finna sit here and fight against yourself. And I think that in this environment, these are conversations I've been saying for years. Is that folks? Hear what I'm saying. We have got to get to a point where we learn how to operate together. Because if you look around and see different things that's going on, and again, I have my military eyes that I look at, there are stuff that should be concerning. And that means that we're going to need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And really, Flo, let me ask you this: is that as a sister, what is it that you guys would like to, or what do you think? Because I know, nobody can necessarily speak for everyone, but just your thoughts of what we can do to say, hey, we're here, we want to support, but I might not necessarily agree with how you're doing.
So I think my answer is simple. I want you as Black men to know I'm supporting you all as much as you're supporting me. And I think sometimes we get separated in this. And I think that's what the media does, right? If you look at the media tells you, look, we're going to do this off the backs of Black women. Black women are doing this. Black women, I'm not taking away from anything they're doing, but I think what gets lost in all of that is how much more we could do with the support of our counterparts. And it's just that simple. And what does support look like? It can look like this. It can look like old man saying, I actually disagree with you, and coming up here and respecting me enough to tell me why he disagrees with me. And then we both get it. It could be JB saying, well, wait a minute, what about this women thing? Like, I don't understand that. How does that work? You know what I mean? Like, it could be Lawrence stepping in and saying, okay, these are my thoughts. How do you feel? Because that's what we don't do. We're always pitted on either side of each other. And that's not, I think it hurts us. And I think it's intentional. And so that's why for me, it's like, if I can bridge that gap of that separation, then I feel like that's where we're supposed to be. So yes, I'm going to make a fiery video because I'm fired up. But also what I'm doing is go look at those videos. Go look in the comment section. It's sparking people to want to say something to me. I want you to say something to me. Like that's by design. And so I think support comes in ways of, don't let the media say Black women are doing this, Black women are doing this, and don't feel like you're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what they're trying to do, because if they can separate us, and this goes back to slavery. If they can separate us, we all lose. And that is the biggest problem that I think is they separate us.
Preach, really, because I agree with you. I've been noticing they're trying to separate the Black community as far as relationships go.
Mm-hmm.
They're pitting men against women.
Mm-hmm.
They've actually been doing this for the last couple of years now. And we are not paying attention. We are actually letting them do this.
It's been longer than that, Cliff.
Yeah, well, yeah, longer than that. I mean,
ever since welfare started.
Yeah, I know. I can go back to the 70s and how they did that whole process. But what I'm truly saying is, our family structure in our community is being chiseled away from the outside, and instead of us paying attention and fighting against it, we're allowing them to come in and control it. And I agree with you 100%, really. We should have each other's backs. Instead
You know what,
of.
bro?
Go ahead.
Bro, I feel that same way, like something, and I always come with the sisters. One of the things I'm huge on is that with our sisters, we got to come from a safe, not a hate space. And that we
Yes.
got to be mindful with that how we navigate. But I think the world tells a lot of comfortable lies rather than deal with the uncomfortable truth. Like I talk to sisters and they say, well, I want a man that, matches me or things like that and has this. And I go, well, I'm retired again. I got a master's degree, all that good stuff. And I always say, well, you have to understand what that man needs. Well, the biggest thing I always say is that I think I get what you're saying and I support your grind, but you got to understand this two things. And I'm saying with love to the sisters there. One, You got to be careful with these conversations of how I match you, because it comes off now as you being more concerned about what the man has than who he is. And that's a
Right.
big thing. A lot of times people don't. And then the other thing is you're looking at what you have based upon best case scenarios. If the crap hits the fan, I'm gonna have you out there in the woods eating turkey with a shelter built, fire, all kind of stuff, and we're gonna rock on because that's a skill set I have. But at the end, and there's a lot of brothers that have that. But I think what has to happen for us as men is that I know some of the stuff that's being said, man, it can seem kind of raw and just very disrespectful. And we as
Yes.
men, we don't deal with most men do not deal with disrespect very well at all. So if you
Right.
come saying certain things, you got to understand you're probably gonna get a little bit of some pushback. But I think that we have to be understanding. Like I have two daughters, both of them in college, and it's to a point where they get to hear me talk to them in a manner where we can disagree, but they get to where I'm coming from and how we disagree. So I agree with you, bro. I think we are being divided, and it's to a point we gotta go, whoa, sis. Let's bring this down. Tell me what your issue is. And we have that effective communication.
Right.
I have a question about that, and this is just to prolong the conversation. But do we, or to keep the conversation going, do you think it's easy to divide us? Because in America, black people in general don't have an actual culture. Like what our culture is actually being instilled to us by somebody else.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's part of it. So I'm one of those people, how people say common sense is not a whatever that I don't even know the saying. I've
Common sense
always
is not
said,
so. Oh, go here, really.
yeah,
I was
in
gonna
one of
say
my
it.
classes, in my college, the first question I ask them, because like when I start my class first week, I give them things. I'm like, in this class, I'm going to make you think. Like that's my whole thing, I'm going to make you think. And the first question I ask them is, do you have common sense or are you good at critical thinking? Most times they have no clue what I'm even talking about. And I'm in education. So if I'm having conversations in my classrooms, again, I'm teaching undergrad, so ages and things like that. But if I'm having conversations about critical thinking and we don't really know what that means, those same people are out in the world. And I think if you don't have critical thinking, or if you don't know how to exercise critical thinking, and to me, a simple definition of critical thinking is, if we're on this panel and I'm talking about there's 5 offensive linemen, and then we go off into a conversation and somebody says to me, well, what position do the 5 offensive linemen play? Go Google that. Use your critical thinking and go find it out. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a basic level, but people don't have that skill set. So if you cannot critically think, then when somebody communicates with you, and you all have seen this, just like I've seen this in other people's panels, somebody comes up and they're just asking you a critical question because you can't critically think. You also don't know how to communicate. So now we're screwed, because not only can you not think, then you can't communicate, and you think I'm coming at you when really I'm just saying, can you give me more about that? I don't understand what you're saying. But we get so defensive because we're vulnerable and we don't like being vulnerable. And so we stop, we pause, we fight. And then it's like, and we're off. And I think that is a learned behavior. It's a triangulation. In my therapy, it's called something, but it's like a triangulation of how this works. It's like, do I know what's being talked about? Yes. Do I have a good point? Yes. Do I ask somebody my point and they don't agree with my point? Yes. Do I get triggered? Yes. And the trigger point is because it's a you problem. You don't know how to communicate. You're feeling insecure. You're feeling vulnerable. You're feeling attacked. That's not what's happening, but that's what you're feeling. We don't talk about that feeling enough, in my opinion, because it happened. We've all seen it happen numerous times. And it's so simple, but that's why. And then of course I'm in the chat, like not making it any better, but it's like, that's what happens when you talk sports, because I'm like, come on, like, it's because you don't have a good point. It's because you don't know what's going on. And instead of backing down and saying, I don't know, you can't, you're vulnerable, you're triggered. And it
And
happens all the time.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Every
I
day
will
on the
say,
Rawhide channel.
yeah, I would say that passion gets the best of people. All right, because it definitely takes two. It takes a sender and a receiver to have a conversation. So, but when you put passion in it, whether it's the tone of how you say something, or the intellect of how someone else understands something, the passion gets confused in who's right or what sounds right. So with politics, it's on one side of the fence, it's your environment. We've all heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise multiple people to become successful and things like that. So with politics, that's what happens. Most people become, I'm not going to say a victim of their environment, but most people become some type of reflection of their environment, whether that's the immediate household, whether that's your, neighbors up and down the street, your high school, your college, your universities, all that stuff. You become that victim of your own environment to shape the way you go into the world and the way you see things. So that's why I said it is
That makes
very
sense.
important to just, educate yourself on the policies, educate yourself on what you want to see next in the world, because those local politicians then become your representatives, your senators, your governors of your states. And it starts at the smallest level, from a random stoplight being put in an area or a random ABC liquor store being put in your area.
Yeah.
It starts that
Very true.
easily. And the next thing you know, 15 years from now, you will have a Marjorie Green Taylor that's sitting representing thousands of people with the most obscure views on what society is
Yeah.
or what society should be. And, the most powerful thing somebody can have is influence on somebody. That's the most powerful thing. If you get in front of a microphone and you grow an audience, you will have the most powerful influence. Men and women alike have gathered thousands, millions to one microphone to be influenced by the words coming out of somebody's mouth.
Are you saying I'm
And
an influencer?
that will change the
Oh,
opinions of thousands and millions so quickly, because all it takes is for you, that sender, to send a message to a receiver, and that receiver then turns into a sender, and they can continue the chain of sending information via your point of view through multiple airways, through multiple one-on-one conversations, to change the way society is viewed upon and looked upon. So
Yeah, it's
Are
happening
you
now.
saying I'm an influencer?
Yes.
you do have influence. You do. There's multiple times where we've been on panels together, and you do have influence. Everybody has influence. How does the other person receive it? And how do
That's
they
true.
go and take what your information is and use in another platform? So everybody
So
has the influence.
I also like, well, you guys know this. I half the time I'm just being ridiculous. So like, I feel like people take me way too serious sometimes. I'm joking, okay? Like I know I'm kidding. But at the same time, so first of all, I'm going to have to jump off at 7:30, so that's in 22 minutes. I have another thing I'm working on that's going to be released in August, but I'll talk about that later. I think what happens, at least for me, for me, one thing I've realized is whenever I share how I feel, or whenever I feel like I'm vulnerable enough with my audience to make a video and express like what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling about anything, whether it's politics, my random videos about sports, whatever. The one thing I've learned is that somebody else either feels the same way, needed to hear that message, or you're giving information that people didn't know they needed. And I think we all possess that ability. It's just all of us don't use it. And I think we should not do that. I think more of us should use the thing that we have to get out whatever it is that we possess that we can talk about. Because a lot of people don't like to talk about politics. I got it, but depending on if we go to 7:30, we will have been on here talking about politics for 3 hours. And Lauren, I know Lawrence dropped off the panel. He's around somewhere. When I reached out to him, I actually was like, I actually have questions about Michigan's football team that I want to ask you. We didn't even go there. because we spend time talking about politics. So when people say things that they don't want to do, they don't want to talk about, like it's not. My experience with people is once you start talking to people, they will give an opinion if they feel like their opinion is valid and you're going to listen to their opinion. And I think we should lean into that more.
I
Okay,
agree with
really.
that point. I agree with that point. And also, the other point that I agree with DC, I don't know if he exactly said this, try to go sit down with your representatives and everything. With Gottheimer's office and somewhat Wynn's office, that's what we did. We had people come in and sit down with us and be like, "Hey, just tell us what is the issue. Like, what do you want us to solve?" That was what I did in Gottheimer's office. We took constituent. I'm going into the background a little bit, but we took constituent caseworks and we were like, "Okay, what's the issue and what do you want us to change around?" And then we would submit it to the caseworker, the internship coordinator, or the chief of staff. So we would definitely get their information and try to like understand what's the problem. So I do agree with DC. Go sit down with your representatives, tell them what's the issue that you guys feel that they need to take care of mostly.
Yep, I agree. And most of the time too, it's like knowing the issue. The one thing I've been doing lately, and the people who know me, I know one of them's in the chat or watching, but she's never going to say anything, is she's like, so why are you voting the way that you're voting? And I said, no, I know what I'm voting for and why. Why are you voting for what you're voting for? And she was like, well, I haven't thought about it. I'm like, well, go figure that out and then come back to me because I want you to be educated on this. Like I already know I don't know everything, but I know what works for me. And it's important to me that other people do that same research. And if you do research and you find out that this isn't for you, cool, it's not for you. But don't go off of what I say. Don't take my advice. Listen to me, but don't. I'm not the end all be all. I know a little
Absolutely.
sliver. I know a little, and I know what impacts me and my life and my family and the people I love and things like that. But like, I'm just one person and it's not about me. So it's like, I just want to encourage people to think. I, in a lot of ways, want to make you uncomfortable enough to where you're so pissed off at me that you almost want to prove me wrong. And you want to prove me so wrong that you're going to either fire back at me or you're going to take time to go educate yourself on what I said because I annoyed you. I want that. I'm okay with that. That's totally fine with me. I don't care because that's the
Yep.
only way we're going to get people to like get up and do something. You have to spark something in them.
Absolutely. And I don't know if Rahad is still listening, but I took this note when Rahad asked the question, the way he sees it as to why is it our own community, we tend to not give a damn about what's happening or what has happened to us to get us to a certain point, to where we are in society now. When he spoke to, the lynchings and the burnings and the draggings and things like that happened to our ancestors and our grandparents and great grandparents years and years ago. And he's like, yeah, society is starting to move so far away from it now. And what happens is that the society we live in now is dictating to us in micro doses to say, yeah, you don't need to worry about that anymore. And Rawhide is right. You will never hear a Asian or a Jewish person speak to say, or a Jewish person to speak to say, forget the Holocaust, that never happened. They will
Yeah.
never say that. And I think because it's happened on our own soil, like where we, live today, those things happen to our ancestors, is that society is just microdosing us to just say, nope, you don't have to worry about that. How can we move on in society if you're still bringing up what happened,
Mm,
400 years ago? But
that's
the
interesting.
Holocaust didn't happen here in the U.S. The Holocaust happened in Europe. So When
That's true.
when you hear the Jewish community speak about it, they're speaking about it because they're keeping it alive for people that have never heard it before. Never. But for us, happening here on our own soil, we have people and generations that have heard the stories, seen the crimes, but our society, ourselves, we turn on the TV and they're telling us small little doses, giving us smaller doses to say you shouldn't worry about that. How are you going
Yeah.
to move past it if you keep bringing it up? And that is totally not the answer. So,
And with that
So
statement, I would like to say it's actually not society's fault for us not knowing. It's our own families.
absolutely. Yeah.
that's a good point too.
They
Yeah.
have to teach the Jewish families, all the other ethnicities, they teach their children about their history. We don't. And I think we don't because it's because we're living it day in, day out, and it's so painful to talk about and express to you just want to come home and smile. You don't want to come home after all the stuff you've been through in today's time and then have to relive what your ancestors, grandparents have. It's just a lot of stress, a lot of stuff to deal with. And I
I
don't know.
that's
Yeah.
so that's a good point. Oh man. I don't think we talk about that point enough. I
Yep.
remember the
Hello.
first time I got a real job. It wasn't a real job, but for me, it was a real job. And I thought I was working so hard. I think I was working like 15 hours a week or something crazy. And I was living at home and I like came home and I was so tired, right? Because my life is so hard now because I have a job. And I'll never forget my dad kind of looked at me and was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm so tired." And he's like, "You worked 4 hours." Like, what are you doing? And I was like, "I'm so tired." And he goes, "That's nothing. Like, that's nothing. Like, that's no, let me tell you what work is. Let me explain to you what work is. You're doing a great job, but let me tell you and in that moment I realized like, yes, I can still be tired and I can be whatever, but this is really not all the end all be all. But I don't think we know that as people sometimes. We
Yep.
think our thing is our thing. And I think that's why people struggle to talk about slavery. And I think that's why people that don't have our experience, that are from different cultures, they don't understand it either because they don't have to deal with us knowing a lot about it. So when we talk about it, it's like, oh, don't talk about the thing because we don't do it often.
Yep. I mean, me personally, I refuse to spend a dime in Florida. I'm hopefully I'm not offending any Floridians on the line, viewing, watching in the chat, but I refuse to spend a dime in the state of Florida due to their elected official. And I know my little Disney package money may not mean nothing, but I refuse to take my family to the state of Florida and spend a single dime just due
I
to the
was
fact of how they're progressing in that administration, on how they're removing small bits and small and big chunks of what can be taught and what can be instructed in school. I refuse.
if Florida's an interesting place.
I
Wait,
refuse.
JR, was it you who was going to write the letter? If
Oh, absolutely. I sent a very detailed email. I sure did
who did you send
because
it to? Remind me.
I sent it to ABC. It was one of the anchors on the Good Morning America show, and the way she spoke, so absolute in her monologue that she was giving on TV. I mean, I was offended. I was like, "How dare!" And it was about a collegiate athlete, Angel Reese, but the way she spoke about her, I was like, to me, you know, uh,
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure that went
yeah,
through because I vaguely remember you saying that.
yep. I had a Kevin moment for sure, but I was at my laptop. I was like, they probably read this one like, who is this crazy idiot? But still, I felt that passionate about it. I was like, man, how can they let this be put on the airways? But everything else is on the airway, and yeah. But I
That's
don't know.
Hey,
That
awesome.
kind of
Red
made me
Claw,
upset.
can we pose a question to you?
To me?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that the actual pain of our iniquities of our father is still prevalent?
Absolutely. I don't think we've ever moved. I don't think we've moved.
And would you call that PTSD?
Absolutely. I think so. I'm going to take this a step further, and this good thing this is coming to an end because this might not make a lot of people happy. I think that experience is also why now Black people have a bad thought about therapy, is because in order to get through certain things, you have to relive it and you have to experience it, and you do that in therapy. And that's scary for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody listen, I've been through a ton of therapy. I had some trauma I needed to work through, and it was from being a child and the way some of the things my mom did and stuff like that. Like my life story is the reverse of a lot of people's life story. And now I love my mom, I'm fine and all those things, but like back in the day, my dad was always present. I was raised by men. I've said this 1,000 times. I was raised by men, blah blah blah. But my mom decided not to be there. My mom, she just wasn't ready to be a mom, and that's a whole different thing. But I needed to go through therapy for myself because I blamed myself, and it impacted my ability to be a woman. It impacted my ability to be in a relationship with people. It impacted so much of me. And when I went through therapy, it was painful and it hurt and I hated it. And I felt like it was draining and sucking everything out of me. But I had to go through that to understand myself, but also understand my mom and the generation my mom was raised in. And my mom has publicly said that, like, my mom had to deal, like, my mom remembers the KKK coming and putting burning crosses on her yard when she was a kid. So my mom had her own trauma, that, you see what I'm saying? So it's like this whole cycle of things. And I didn't realize until I went to therapy where my trauma was coming from. And some of it was coming from her, and she didn't realize where hers was coming from. So my point is it's like a process. And that process is hard and scary and gross and annoying and can be expensive and can't, you know what I mean? Who
Yeah.
wants to sign up for that shit?
Yeah, but the thing about it is when you got to the other side, once you went through the fire, now you actually have a testimony. And so when that thing comes up against you, you're not reactive, you just act.
Exactly. And I think too, somebody asked me that on another show. I don't remember, it doesn't matter. Is like, how can you sit up here with a bunch of men and have conversations? And I tell them, because I know those men know more than me, and I know that they respect me. I like those spaces. I don't need to show up into a space where I know everything. That's not fun. I'm not learning. I'm not laughing because I'm the person. You know what I mean? Like, it's just me, and I don't want that. I show up into spaces where I know people know more than me, and where I know I'm going to be respected, because that's all I care. That's it. You know why I learned that? Therapy. I wasn't always like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Well,
Trust
see,
me, I was
I'm
not
the
always like
same.
this.
I'm the one on the other side, usually helping in therapy. But the fact of the matter is that once I had to go through my own family therapy, my cousin is Emmett Till, and so we had to go through a lot
Mm-hmm.
to get where we're at. But once I went, it was tough.
It
I
is.
ain't gonna lie. There was a whole bunch of people saying that we were lying and that there was a narrative that he did do those things, different things. But
Yeah.
it was just misconceptions and people trying to hurt other people.
Yep.
And once I come to that understanding and really stood in my own pain and why does this affect me, then all of a sudden when I communicate to someone else or I listen, it's not personal. It's just how they see it.
Right.
And so therefore I can gain more up from that conversation because I have taken the personal out of it because understand we're all unique in our own walk. But with that, uh, if I have healed my trauma or my
Mm-hmm.
PTSD of whatever linked to your family, then now I can actually hear you. So therefore, I can build a trust with you and know that hey, even if I get a little messy, I'm able to own up to it and not even trip because I understand I'm made from dirt. What do you expect? There's so
Yep.
many particles in dirt when well, let me stop. Let me come back. uh, you just understand I'm made from dirt. So we all are. So with that, there's aptitudes that we must, if we want to move forward and be able to bridge the gap, if we can find a way to heal those and start trusting again and start building, there's nothing we can't do. Because when you're united, nobody can come against you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
Bishop,
have
I was
five
just about to
minutes.
say,
Well, go.
preach, preacher.
I was gonna say keep going, Jerry Broxton, but we have 5 minutes, and I I also just want to share that like the other thing about this is I used to never even be able to talk about my mom. It would make me cry, and obviously I'm older now, but even the fact that you go, I think the misconception with therapy is you go through therapy and everything's right, and you get a check mark and you get a hand clap and you're good, and it's the continued work that you have to do. And I think that's what I want us all to remember as humans is like, it's never going to be right. It's never going to be perfect. You're going to have good moments. You're going to have probably amazing moments, weeks, even months, even years. But it's okay to still feel certain things about certain things. And it's okay. It's okay. It's like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Being a healthcare professional, I constantly, when I'm working with my patients in the realm of PT, uh, you're having these conversations with with people, and they're telling you things, and I'm like, look, I am not a mental health therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm none of that. But what I can tell you from a healthcare perspective is that if you're coming to me because you are rehabilitating a part of your body, your mind is also a part of your body. And you
Mm-hmm.
need the tools, and your mind has to be reconditioned to feel a certain way. But growing up in the African American community and household, you get it, the stigma of nope, I'll figure it out, or I'll get
That's it.
better.
Yep.
And I'm like, yep, that it doesn't happen. So yeah, I
Nope.
often tell my patients that like you have to seek that counseling, that therapy to help you learn coping skills, mechanisms, or just unlock a part of your brain that you may have stored and locked the key and threw it away years ago. But you got to do it. You
Yep.
know.
I always tell people just go there.
Yep.
Like whatever that thing that's making you get that little like, that feeling, that like anxiety, whatever that is, it's like that's a thing. That's why I always tell people like, yeah, I have a really good temperament. I'd like to think I have a pretty high emotional intelligence, but that's how I maintain that is because I know when I'm getting to the point, I can feel it and I know what it means. So I'm going to back down because I know what that is. So,
The
but yeah,
point
so
that I go ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Uh,
you're good. Go ahead.
Alrighty. The point that I have, like, I don't like. I've been trying this for a couple of not years, but like I said, I interned and everything, right? But the point that I have, like Riley Flott and J Box, you probably have like you guys know a little bit about politics. The point that I have is like it's just baffles my mind. Like, where do you find like mostly for me because I'm a political science major, it's so hard to find political jobs. Like, I don't know if it's easy. Like, if it's easier if you just keep searching. Like, I don't know because I've tried a couple of times and that's what I was like trying to figure out, like political
That's a
jobs
good
from like
question.
yeah. that was a question that I had.
Somebody commented on one of my posts or one of my videos. I think it was the one where I released on Monday, and said something about like messaging like or sending a note to a politician or reaching out to one of their offices or something like that. I wouldn't know, because that's a good question. Do they post political jobs? Like, is there like a website?
Only
I
one
wouldn't
that
know.
I know is the legislative aid in New Jersey. That's it. So I'm looking like if there's
Is
any other
there
places.
a website?
That is definitely out of my realm of knowledge, but I would definitely not hesitate to walk to the steps of any, government building, any, government building in your area, to definitely ask that question. Knock on those doors, kick those doors open in, and ask that question.
Okay, so I found a website called Daybook. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Can you see the back chat?
I think I can.
So there's one called Daybook, and then there's one called Political Job Hunt. Yeah, it looks like another one. But what you can do too is like once you like click on these links, and I'm sure once they get in your browser, you know how computers work. It will start to feed you like stuff. So I don't know if those links will be helpful, but see if those links will be helpful for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the.
Oh, I can't hear him.
Well,
I think
what
I
I
lost.
will say,
I don't
really,
know if he
Claude,
has
is
access.
thank you for this space. Thank you for this time, good sister. And like I said, I admire your growth from afar, from video 1 to 18. So keep it going, please.
So that was my bad. I was trying to get the websites out of the
It's okay.
chat, and
did you get them?
Yeah, I think I got one of them. I didn't get the other one. So
I'll resend it. So thank you, JR Boxon. I appreciate you noticing, because I think a lot of times like you don't think that you're growing, because I'm just like, maybe I should make a video about this. No one talks about how making content really is. Like when I like figuring out what you want to do, how to make the video, editing the video, getting the video out, making a thumbnail, and then just like you're getting out of your own way, because that's the other thing sometimes. And I've started to add the moments where like I can't talk and I'm like, what was I saying? That happens a lot. So it's like, but we don't often talk about the goofs. I think in this video I released today, it's very much me being like, and then wait, what am I saying? Because you're just talking to a phone or a computer or a camera. It's weird. It's weird. but I appreciate you noticing, and I appreciate you being supportive of me.
Oh, you're welcome, ma'am.
Oh man, you too. I don't know if you're still here, but I can see you on the screen.
Yeah, I think I got the other one. So I
I'm here.
should have 2 of them. If I don't, I'll ask, but I should have 2 of them. So
okay, cool.
I got both of them.
Yeah,
awesome.
Good show. Thanks for the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming up. I appreciate any conversation. I think one day a Trump supporter will show up, and I will love to talk to them.
Same.
I'm curious. I'm actually just curious. But anyways, I appreciate all of you, and yeah, thank you.
All right, peace out.
Bye.
Yep.